till we touch the sky. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the tires screech, hearts pound, adrenaline's fire, lap by lap, chasing that finish line desire. Rookies and legends all fight for the crown, but only one will take the title down. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission, the goal we all crave. Speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. So here's to the racers, the Oval League's pride. Through every twist and turn we ride or die. In the Grind Cup Series we find who we are, chasing glory and victory beneath the virtual stars. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. Racing in the Grind Cup, where legends are made. The esports Oval League driving the arcade. Racing in the Grind Cup, where legends are made. The esports Oval League driving the arcade. Under the lights, engines roar, we're ready to go. The esports Oval League with the best ways to show. Grinding gears, chasing dreams on the virtual track. No looking in the rear view, there's no turning back. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission, the goal we all crave. Speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the tires screech, hearts pound, adrenaline's fire, lap by lap, chasing that finish line desire. Rookies and legends all fight for the crown, but only one will take the title down. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission, the goal we all crave. Speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing pushing limits in the oval till we touch the sky. So here's to the racers, the Oval League's pride. Through every twist and turn we ride or die. In the Grind Cup Series we find who we are, chasing glory and victory beneath the virtual stars. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're legends of Maine. The ESports Oval League driving the arcade. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're legends of Maine. The ESports Oval League driving the arcade. Under the lights, engines roar, we're ready to go. The ESports Oval League with the best race to show. Grinding gears, chasing dreams on the virtual track. No looking in the rear view, there's no turning back. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission. The goal we all crave, speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the sky. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. The tires screech, hearts pound, adrenaline's fire. Lap by lap, chasing that finish line desire. Rookies and legends all fight for the crown, but only one will take the title down. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission. The goal we all crave, speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split-second mistake and you're going under.
ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Flatout Racing Network's continued coverage of the 2025 season of the ESports Oval League Grind Cup Series. Last week, we were at the high banks of the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, for our regular season finale. It has now given us the 17 drivers that will begin the journey here towards the championship as the playoffs will begin. We are here live in Joliet, Illinois, a stone's throw away from the Windy City Chicagoland Speedway, the first track that these drivers will tackle here in this 10-race playoff system. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Scott Rankin. And Scott, you said when you hopped up here into the booth, two things about this racetrack. One, challenging, but two, lots of fun.
Yeah, this is a really challenging one. Super high speed and a track that's actually not in use in the real world at the moment. Everything I hope brings this racetrack back to fruition because the racing is frantic. It's got all of the high speed elements of a Michigan, but it's just got that little bit more banking. And crucially, there is no point on this racetrack where the track ever straightens out. It is one of the most unique aspects about it. And well, you got to play your best super speedway games, but you've also got to look after those tires. This is basically, the best way I can describe it is old Atlanta meets Michigan.
Yep, some old worn out surface here at Chicagoland, and something you documented as well that we'll be talking about probably the entirety of the night, especially when drivers run into trouble, is those bumps that you have to deal with in the corners.
Yeah, big problem, and it was something that I experienced in both of my qualifying laps right there, is up in those higher lanes. You want to build the momentum, you want to move up the racetrack. Well, the big thing when that happens is that the car skips sideways in the bumps just a little bit, and the big problem is on cold tires, you don't want that happening because all of a sudden that takes some life out of the tire. Any sort of little skip across the surface is going to abrade away that surface of the tire. It's going to do damage to it. It's going to take a little bit of that long run pace away from the car. And the critical thing is it puts heat in the tire. And we've got a tire model, new tire model. This is probably my biggest and first time it's really set on some of these bigger wide open tracks. But critically, the racing has been a lot more packed up. The big thing though is that the tire temperature is supposed to degrade. It's supposed to come out of those tires much more of a real to life system. If you have a little bit of a skip, it's going to be spicy for a lap or so, and then the tire should come back to you. So at the moment, that's what should be happening. The tricky part tonight is that if you slide that tire, you slide it once, that's okay. Twice, definitely still fine. 3 times, all right, you probably need to start thinking about doing something. Get up to 5 or 6 or 7 times, that tire is going to be abraded on the rear end. The car is going to start to dance and move around underneath you. And long run pace seems to be dominated. I'm going to say probably it feels like it's the left rear tire, which is a really interesting thing to say. That's just the way the next gens are built. That's the way they operate. They wear both of the tires pretty evenly. So it could be a left rear thing, could be a right rear thing. We'll have to do some research as the night goes on.
Could be interesting, definitely, to see how it plays out. We'll be talking about the stages here in just a minute. Seems like a bit of expedited stage lengths here tonight, but we take a look here. You see on the bottom right of your screen, these are those 17 drivers that are eligible for the championship here, getting in through the playoffs, whether it was through victories or through points. Tom Bourne, who starts from the pole position, gets in by winning the All-Star Race event, gets that wild card spot, but 7 wins coming into this for Alan Dobbs, 3 for Brandon Cooper, who starts on the outside of the front row. Noah Jackson, Trey Whitehead, Dalton McKinney all made their way in through victories. Dalton with his win last week at Daytona. You got Patrick McQuaid, Jonathan Cogswell, Christian Ruse, Peyton Holland, Jeff Kleinsma, Ryan Catalano, Matt Davies, Chris Hupka, Chris Roberge, Rylan Facinato, and Matt Metler. All those drivers that got in on points. As we'll take a look at your starting lineup here, and you know, you look at a number of these drivers here, an opportunity at this racetrack to build some momentum into some other difficult racetracks that are coming up here in this playoff schedule.
This is an opportunity to just sort of take some pressure out of the playoffs as well. I think that's the biggest factor, Seth, is you want to really take some pressure away. You want to give yourself a little bit of the opportunity to sort of look after your playoff journey just a little bit. So, you know, there's a little bit in that. If you can get yourself a top 5 finish here tonight, that's a great finish. That moves you up in terms of the point standings. You got to remember, we got 20 cars on the racetrack here. Opportunities to score points over those guys. Stage points are absolutely critical.
Mentioned 20 drivers. Chris Reese and Chris Roberge going to make up that final 10th row here. Did not set down a lap in qualifying, but here we go. It's going to be 175 laps of racing here this evening. Completion of stage 1 going to be at lap 40 as Tom Bourne and Brandon Cooper, a couple of playoff drivers, get us under green in the first playoff race of the season.
Big run down to turn 1. Now, the outside's going to have momentum here, but it's also about making sure you don't slide those tires. Slide jobs will be crucial. The big thing was it was outside dominant in terms of practice, and Tom Bourne's managed to grab that race lead.
Cooper will slot into second place. Trey Whitehead trying to rip the top. He's actually going to go 2 for 1. He got Cooper for second, pulls alongside and ahead of Tom Bourne to the start-finish line, and he'll lead that lap.
Arrow is going to be a big thing tonight too, Seth. As, you know, you're looking for that clear lane of air will be absolutely crucial. Oh, they're into each other for the race lead.
Yes, some contact definitely there. A little trading paint between Bourne and Whitehead. Whitehead, one of 4 Sonic cars in the field here tonight, as Whitehead Racing, all sponsored by Sonic. I believe Trey and Brock Whitehead with the black-based livery. Ooh, little loose there was Tom Bourne. You've got Noah Jackson and Alan Dobbs with the white-based liveries here tonight. You see Jackson there in the 5th position, and just behind him, the similarly schemed number 35 of Alan Dobbs.
Yeah, so it'll be pick your partners. This is a draft-heavy track. You do need to look after the tires, though, which is going to make for some really, really interesting racing. Pick your open lane of air as well. You can see Dobbs is holding back a little bit early. He's thinking about those tires. He's thinking about long runs. Fuel could be relevant as well.
Woo! Noah Jackson pushing up off the corner, almost getting to the left rear quarter panel of that number 39. That's our broadcast colleague, Scott Rankin. He's the 61 on our scoring monitor here, but he's that blue and, well, that teal, I guess we could say, that teal and black number 39 here tonight, currently in the 3rd position, as those similarly colored Sonic cars going to work their way around the 54 of Brandon Cooper. And you mentioned something to me here, that the car is only going to get looser the longer the run goes on, especially as we get past the 10-lap delta. Being in a pack here around other drivers, we always talk about at the 1.5 mile, 2-mile racetracks, aero tightness. Can being behind somebody in dirty air, can that combat the loose sensation of the car, or does it just make it even worse?
Oh, it absolutely does make it tighter, because you've got to remember, effectively what's triggering the loose sensation in the car is the banking transitions and also the bumps. Cars are tipping sideways. What happens is when the tire skips sideways is it puts additional heat because the tire's rubbing a fair bit more. So it's about setting the car up over the bump, over the banking transition, and not slide those tires. What you're talking about is lack of aero grip at the front end of the race car. So effectively what happens there is the front end of the race car is not turning. It's not pressing into the road surface anywhere near as much. And what that means is you've effectively got less grip at the front end of the race car. Is what happens when you get aero tight. Oh, Tom Bourne lost the rear.
Hangs onto it there on the back straightaway, but he's going to lose positions with the shallow entry here into turn 3. Goes from 2nd back to 4th. Here comes Alan Dobbs up on the top side to try and take that position away as Tom gets tight off the turn 4 exit.
But the drafting lane's down the bottom, so he gets a little bit of support, which is where he might get saved a fraction here at the moment. It's going to be all about managing rear tires, tightness. There's a bunch you've got to manage. The air will be a big factor in this one as well. As you come back up the racetrack, the car on your outside might start to pack some of that air on your outside. That may get you tighter again as well, which means you'll push up even further into them. Getting the car to connect, there's a lot that's going on in this one.
Side-by-side battles off the corner. They get hairy as the track narrows up and that inside line car starts to push up the racetrack. You mentioned it. There is not a true straightaway here at Chicagoland. On the front straightaway, you're turning left. Look at this. You can see there is no straight line. It is basically a very large left-hand curve on what we call the back straightaway here, but you are in a continuous process of turning left. This is an oval in every sense of the word.
Now there's no stretch. There is a constant gradient to that curve as well. That also plays little bits and pieces in terms of where the safety barriers and all of those things are as well. So it's not just as simple as this is a nice easy racetrack to run around. Oh, big ride again. Was that Bourne again?
That was Brandon Cooper. We saw it right there on the onboard with Tom Bourne. Was right in front of the 16. He gathered it up on the back straightaway, but at least the second or third driver we've seen have an issue with the exit off of 2.
Tires, looking after tires will be a concern here tonight, because you definitely have to burn them to make the track position and go out there and get those spots. But you've also got to keep the momentum up. Keep the momentum up means you've got to keep your foot in the gas to do so. Keep your foot in the gas and the car is sliding. That's more rear tire that's going to go away from you.
So you set a term considering these bumps, which you said is a big reason why we're seeing drivers get out of shape here, and that was straighten out for the bumps. How in the world do you do that at a track that we're talking about you're constantly turning left?
Well, the big thing is you set the car up. So if I'm planning to hit those bumps, you got to know where those bumps are on the racetrack, and you basically plan to hit them. So when you hit them, you just want the car pointing straight. So that means you do all your turning before, do all your turning after. One of those two. It doesn't matter which one, but you want to have the steering wheel straight. It's a big thing when we go to road courses. When you hit curbs, when you hit, you know, those sausage curbs that are on the inside of a lot of corners at road courses, you want to jump those. When you're in the air, you can't do any turning. There's no part of the wheels that are in the ground, because you've got to flight the car over them to achieve the maximum amount of speed. To do that, again, it's all about planning. It's all about preparation. If the car's going to get loose halfway through turn 1, turn 2, I want to make sure that my car is pointed straight at that point of the corner so the car doesn't swing around on me. And you just document, I think Peyton Holland's had an issue. I think that was with Brandon Cooper. I did hear something on the radio.
Cooper's dropping back. Yes, caution is out as Cooper's around on the back straightaway. We saw just moments ago there, the 9 of Chris Roberge was on pit lane. We're waiting to see if this is a regularly scheduled stop or not, but it's looking like it would be unscheduled, as Cooper, who had that big moment a couple of laps ago off of turn 2, fully around here on the back straightaway, and we'll take a look and see what happened to the 3-time winner. Started from the outside of the front row.
Is this all going to be on his own?
Looks like it, yep.
Yeah.
Just see as soon as that back end comes around, nothing he can do.
Yeah. I believe this is going to cover off our fuel window to the stage as well, because it's a 38-lap fuel tank.
One thing that Brandon Cooper did a nice job of, and that was getting the car woed down. You'll see here as the back end comes around, he's got the wheel turned to the right to try to save it, and right here, this overcorrect right there, a lot of times cars will go straight up into the outside wall. He brings the wheel back to the left to avoid going up in front of traffic, and didn't even go off into the grass, was able to utilize that apron there. Nice save, keeps his race alive. Granted, he'll probably need some fresh tires after that long slide down the back straight, but could have been a lot worse for one of our playoff contenders.
This will be critical towards that stage. What was that stage number again, Seth?
Completion of 40.
Completion of 40. We were tight on fuel to get there to 40. But this caution sort of just buys us that little window of fuel that we needed to get there. So that does get us to that number. Stage 2 will be gold, as it has been. Those couple laps on the caution at the front end of the stage always clears this in terms of the fuel window. But it was a 38-lap fuel window, so there was a couple guys that were saving fuel early on. And yeah, the race car is loose. I must admit, it is loose and trending looser. So anyone who's saved a little bit of rear tire, particularly at the front end of this run, is in a really, really good situation right here.
Well, it's definitely an unscheduled pit stop there for Chris Roberge. He is now 3 laps down. One of our playoff contenders that pointed his way into the postseason. We had a quartet of drivers come to pit road here under this yellow, including Brandon Cooper, who we saw go around for this first caution. Tom Bourne had a moment off of turn 2 during that run, so might have come down for some fresh tires as well. Chris Hupka and Jonathan Cogswell. We're going to be going green here, just a little south of 25 to go in this first stage. For these drivers that have come to pit road, is there any consideration of flipping the stage, or is about 20, 25 laps going to be way too many laps on the tires that they're going to have to come down pit road at this stage conclusion.
I would even combat and say the big thing for me here is that if you're taking a set of tires, you're compromising the back end of your race. 2 stages, I think you've got to use 1 set of tires per stage. So you've got to drive to that appropriately. So that leaves you 4 sets of tires. At lap 80 with just under 100 to go. Maybe you can utilize 3 sets of tires for the first half of the race, 3 sets of tires for the back half of the race. That is a consideration that you can go for. So for those guys, they will effectively have no set of tires for the second stage. There's a caution in the second stage. There's no way, that you've got 1 set of flex tires is the way that I think about it. 1 set of tires that you can decide what you're going to do with, and if they burn them here, they haven't got them for the next stage.
This is the only spacious 1.5-mile racetrack here in this round, as the next 2 weeks hold short tracks in Iowa and under the lights at the last great Coliseum at Bristol. All the Sonic cars up here at the front. Trey Whitehead side by side with Noah Jackson, Allen Dobbs, Scott Rankin in 4th, and here comes Ryan Catalano up into the top 5. 5th position right now for the 92.
And the big thing is for that 92 car, he's been coming on strong as the season's gone on. If you have a look at McQuaid sort of started average and then built off of that. Catalano didn't start average. He had a terrible start of the season, but he's been building on form, particularly at the road course. Ran great back at Road America. I think that was actually his first podium of the season too. Really, really good opportunity for the driver of that 92. How about Matt Davies up here and inside the top 5? This will be a huge confidence boost if he can keep it up here.
Rubbing doors there with Ryan Catalano off of 2. Both will take unique lanes through 3 and 4. Catalano about a half groove off the outside wall. Davies trying to wrap the bottom. Catalano will get the better exit off the corner as he'll draw a bead up here for the 4th position. Haven't heard us talk a whole lot about points here tonight. We more than likely will be talking about them more in depth next week, as I believe administration is still trying to figure out how to do the calculations for Sim Racer Hub, where the point standings are displayed for us each and every week, trying to figure out how to reformat for the playoffs. So we'll hopefully have all those numbers and statistics for you next week at Iowa. Here tonight, though, I think for the most part, for all the 17 playoff drivers, well, 16 since we don't have Dalton McKinney in the field, but I think it's a matter of establishing some momentum here at this racetrack in preparation for 2 very difficult short tracks coming up here. As caution is out, Brandon Cooper has had another moment on the back straightaway. Looks like again maybe another solo car incident.
That's not good to see him up and in the barriers like that. That might have been the overcorrect. To be fair, Seth, the car did. Oh, he just put in the fence again, spinning those tires up here. That might be enough. That might be him done for the day. That secondary contact looked like it might have been a lot heavier than what was already on that car. So
I don't know if that was tire spin there in a lower gear that overcorrected him up there, and then he nearly went up and got the wall again as the nose pointed up the banking. Let's go back and take a look at what happened to him. But I think for the most part, on the first spin, I don't think he hit anything. That second moment when he gassed it back up, definitely got some damage on the right front.
And again, this is bumps. Just keep an eye on the bumps. There you go. Car just starts to transition from touching a seam, and then it's just catching it the whole way around, and Papa just finishes him off.
Yep, it's nowhere for CJ Papa to go. And then right here, as he comes back up the track, little kiss there to the outside wall.
Okay.
Don't think that would have been so bad. But then right here, when he guns it back up, you're going to see, I think the tires spin as he throws it into gear. And, oh, man.
Did he go down a gear instead of up?
I'm not sure, honestly. We can maybe go on board with him and try and take a listen.
I wonder, because the car shouldn't do that when you grab a gear.
We'll go on board with him here, starting at his spin off of turn 2. Pretty minor contact there with CJ Papa. You just hear a tiny brush there to the outside wall. And then let's take a listen.
His first gear. Second. Something went on there.
Yeah. You just hear it rev.
Okay. Yeah, the free rev is concerning. I mean, there is enough torque in second gear to spin the tires, but they've got to be really, really over. Look at the right hand down he's got on that car on pit lane.
Yeah.
Jump back in that cockpit and have a look at that damage. That is significant. See that? Wheels should not be sitting like that on pit lane. That is a lot of damage. He's trying to stay back on the green. Yeah. Might not be as bad as we thought. That just might have been the resting point for his steering wheel.
Let's take a look and see if we can get a shot of that right front fender here as he comes off of pit road. See what kind of repair job they might have been able to do in that 54. Still crumpled there, you can see on the fender just above that right front tire.
Some recovery effort. His focus will be giving myself a clean cut to go racing at the end of stage 2, which is disappointing because the qualifying effort for him was really, really strong.
It was. Start on the outside of the front row.
I really want to know. So Tom Bourne came to the attention of his crew because he was going backwards. I have a sneaking suspicion he might have taken tires, just with where he is in the field. So now he's got a 16, 17 lap. He's going to have a 17 lap run right here from this green flag to try and cut his way back through the field. That could be a stage win. That could be critical to him. Remember, that wild card slot that he took into the playoffs came with no bonus points. That is you get the luckiness of getting back into the playoffs. You got to do the hard work to transition out of the playoffs. So he will start with the least points of everyone heading into the playoffs. By the way, these restarts, guys are spinning tires.
Not surprised here for sure with these older Goodyears. As Trey Whitehead gets us back underway. To answer your question there about Tom Bourne, on the previous restart, he started 15th. Within about a lap and a half, he had jumped up to 11th. So I think you're right. I think he definitely took on tires. We didn't see him make more forward progress because I think he ended up hitting a wall of cars and was having some difficulty finding some way around. But right now in the 10th position, to your point, in line for stage points, and maybe, depending on circumstances, might have the grip to be able to get up here, blow the doors off the top 9, and maybe able to take a stage victory, which would be a very valuable playoff point towards the next round. 15 laps to go here in this first stage. Whoa, trouble! Alan Dobbs has gone around the back straightaway, as well as Scott Rankin. Caution waves for the third time here tonight. These cautions just continue to help the drivers be able to have enough fuel to get to the conclusion. It's also less laps that they're putting on these tires here for these upcoming restarts.
Yep. It is difficult to get an overtake done. Really, really difficult. So you got to take every run and every opportunity that you got. I'm gonna say here I've probably made a mistake and run a touch too high. Yeah, I've run a touch too high.
Little extracurricular landscaping in the infield grass. Now, it's not paved down here at Chicagoland, but there is, at least with that grass, there is runoff, so drivers are able to get their cars slowed down before making contact with the inside wall. It looks like both drivers involved were able to gather it back up. Big thing's going to be the loss of track position here. Down out of the racing line, everybody able to get by. So far, we've gotten pretty lucky here. Our 3 cautions have been single car, 2 cars, and 2 cars here, with very minimal damage sustained in either one of those 3.
This will be a big thing for Brandon Cooper. This might be the opportunity he needs to get his car back to the level that he wants it at. So this will actually be a really good time caution. This might bring his ability to charge back through the pack up to stage 2, which is what he needed.
Now, you mentioned about the strategy here for Tom Bourne. You look at some of the drivers we've got up here currently inside of the top 5, latter half of the top 5 to the top 10. Matt Davies, Ryan Catalano, Peyton Holland, Patrick McQuaid. These are drivers as well that pointed their way into the playoffs, and we're kind of on the meager side in terms of stage points, in terms of playoff points. Opportunity here to capitalize on picking up some stage points here, put themselves in a better situation for the upcoming doubleheader in back-to-back weeks at Iowa and Bristol. It kind of looks like, at least at this point in time, stage points is at the forefront of their mind.
Is stage points to be critical? I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a bunch of guys that, to me, critically, haven't got a lot of points. You look at Alan Dobbs, you look at people like that, whereby they've got a bunch of bonus points. So getting stage results is not all that critical. They don't need the stage points, but for those guys who are a little bit further down, this is an opportunity for them to play their way forward. They need to pick up these points. They weren't as important when we got halfway through the regular season. All of a sudden, stage points not all that necessary. You were a lot further up. If you were tight on the bubble, obviously they were, but if you were in sort of that anywhere from, say, 5th down to about 12th, stage points weren't critical. This changes things up. For guys that were towards the back and want to bring themselves forward in terms of playoffs, stage points now become more and more important. Why? What is the big reason? We have 3 weeks worth of racing each time to decide where everyone should be setting up.
Another racetrack with a worn-out service, concrete-based Nashville Super Speedway was where Trey Whitehead picked up his first victory on the season. He'll lead us back to green with 12 laps remaining in the stage. And another interesting point of note, when we went green to start this thing, the entire track was bathed in cloud cover. Now the sun has peeked out and is baking this mile-and-a-half racetrack, which will continue to seep away grip from these Goodyear tires.
Correct. That was Peyton Holland, I think, that got the outside wall hard.
Yep. No caution as of yet for the 19, who was up into that wall off of turn 2. Flagman will keep the green flag out here for the time being. Peyton Holland, another of our playoff contenders. And now the caution is out as Brandon Cooper has had another moment. This time it's on the front straightaway off of 4.
Is that another moment on his own?
It might very well be. It has been a tough start to this race for the 3-time winner.
That is big. The fact that he's had that many issues all the way back there.
Take a look first at the incident involving Peyton Holland, and then we'll check in on the incident bringing out this 4th caution of the night. This is the Peyton Holland incident. Heading through 1 and 2, you just see that wiggle there. Little contact from Tom Bourne, corrects him up into the outside wall. Big contact with the right front of that Smucker's Strawberry Uncrustables Toyota Camry here this week. This caution going to save him. He'll be able to come down pit road under yellow to get damage repaired. And then we'll jump up here to the center of 3 and 4. Actually, this was more right on the entry of turn 3. See the back end of the car unsettles again, and Brandon Cooper having to gather it back up as he slides past the Geico restart zone.
The critical thing is, does he get a piece of the wall? He looks okay. There's still damage on that right front of that car, but he is struggling on those tires. I reckon this is as a result of still all that sliding he's done. Because remember, every single time you go for a slide, the tires are skipping across the surface and scrubbing away. So you do take wear away. His goal has now got to be just get to the end of the stage.
That right front damage there as well. How much does that affect the race car, if at all?
Look, it definitely takes something away from it, but it shouldn't be taking away. It's rear grip that he's struggling with. The thing that would be making me think that it's maybe impacting that car is the fact that he's gone for so many slides. That says to me maybe he's got a little bit too much wheel in the car, because what can happen is if you're tight, you keep adding wheel into it. Generally, it's a mistake, first and foremost. That's a driving error. When you are tight, you want to add less wheel, not more. Adding more wheel actually takes grip away from the front of the race car. If you've got just a little bit more than the race car can handle, that's actually okay. But if you keep adding wheel into it, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse because you're scrubbing those tires more and more and more. But what happens is when you've got a ton of wheel in the race car is that all of a sudden when the car does bite, all of a sudden the car wants to grip and go with where the wheel's pointed. So when you do that, particularly across the bumps, He's got inconsistent downforce on the right front corner of it, which means he's got inconsistent grip on the right front corner of that car, which means that his car is doing some weird things. So he's having to add wheel and wait for it. Normally, if that's the case, you actually want to add less wheel because you just want to let the car settle as much as it possibly can. It's not an easy question to solve. It's not an easy thing to talk about how much wheel you should be adding into the race car, because at the end of the day, it comes down to exactly how he's driving and what he can feel through the wheel. And remember, he's got damage in the right front corner. If that's steering damage as well, his race car isn't going to be consistent compared to all the practice laps that he's done. This is a gripe I have with sim racing. I was discussing this with a couple of guys recently, but what we do in sim racing compared to real world racing, you know, these guys, get an hour worth of practice in NASCAR Cup Series every week? They get 1 hour worth of practice. Yeah. Whereas if you want to go and throw 20 hours worth of practice for all this race tonight, you can do that. But what happens is we run optimized stuff, and as the tires start to wear, as the car starts to wear, you don't feel the grip. You're just going, well, I should be doing this. I'm going to try and do this. So what happens is we have less sense of grip because we're trying to optimize the running constantly, which means we're not reading the racetrack around us. So that can be an error as well. If he's driving to the way that he thinks the car should be driving, in his situation, you've got to be feeling the car out, not trying to drive it, the exact way he's driven it up to this point.
I'll touch a little more on that here in just a minute as we get ready to go back green. Trey Whitehead elects the outside line for this restart. Get Tom Bourne down to the apron looking for 3 wide going into turn 1. Get by Brock Whitehead, now tries to make the move. Oh, it's going to cost him. He got the left sides on that white line, slides, and look at all the spots he's going to lose down the back straightaway.
Yeah, they're all checked up. They're all gassed up back there as well. Everyone's driving the wheels off these things right now because they're all looking for stage points, and Cogswell's trying to cut him off his nose as well.
3 wide further back here. You got Rylan Faccianato trying to get by. CJ Papa does so. You had Patrick McQuaid up on the top side there. We're 3 wide again as Tom Bourne looks to get those spots back. Pushing up off the corner. Rubbendorf's leaning on that 13 of CJ Papa.
Challenging because now you got to look for where's the open lane of air. Where can you go? And there is the preferred groove around this racetrack. You actually kind of want to set the car towards the bottom. There is pace up at the top, but you bounce your way over. But when you're trying to make spots up, you don't get the opportunity to set the car where you want it to run. So for right now, Trey's going to just hold this. He's going to aero block as much as he can. Noah Jackson.
So right there, as soon as he moved up into that lane off corner exit, Noah Jackson, you could see the nose push up there as he had to jerk the car to the left. The nose was trending upward towards the outside wall. As Toyota's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now. Brock Whitehead has moved into the top 5 in the 4th position, and Matt Davies right now in 5th. Trey Whitehead during the course of the regular season, 3 stage victories. Noah Jackson had 2. Ryan Catalano, Matt Davies had 0. Opportunity for all 4 of those individuals to try and get themselves a stage win and a playoff point here towards the next round as Trey continues to, as you say, kind of maybe look more in the rearview mirror than out the windshield, trying to aero block, find the lane that Noah Jackson is choosing through the corner, mimic it, and make sure he can't find that rotation through the center.
All comes as a result of how much that he's willing to put the throttle down as well, because remember, these race cars have largely been loose. So, you do want to aero block as much as you possibly can, but at the same time, you've got to put yourself in a position whereby the car is still tracking straight. And that's the big key.
Side by side for 3rd, Brock Whitehead looking low on Ryan Catalano. We have 17 drivers in the playoffs. That doesn't mean that there are drivers in this field not competing for the championship that don't want to get as many checkered flags as they can before the 2025 season comes to a close. Brock Whitehead still searching for victory lane here in the Grind Cup Series as he'll move his way up into the 3rd spot and try and see if he can get up and battle with Noah Jackson for 2nd. Maybe make it a Whitehead Brothers 1-2 finish here in this stage as the proverbial white flag is displayed for Trey Whitehead. Next time around will be the conclusion of stage number 1.
Think about what he's doing now. Has he pulled that margin out? He has. Now Noah Jackson's got to think about what he's going to do with Brock Whitehead. And remember, you do want to race because it is a point at the end of the day, but it's only 1 point. And for Brock, he's not in the playoffs. So for him, it doesn't matter. He can go out there, he can be as aggressive as he likes. He has got no playoff considerations to think about. That's freeing for a driver. You don't have to think, I'm just going to lock it and finish this. He can just drive it as hard as he wants, but Trey gets it done in stage 1.
Cloud cover has returned here to the Chicagoland Speedway as the green and white checkered flag over the hood of the 23 Sonic Toyota Camry out of Whitehead Racing. Trey Whitehead picking up stage number 1 here in the playoff opener. It's like Noah Jackson is going to net 9 points. Ryan Catalano with 7. Alan Dobbs will get 6. Matt Davies with 5. Tom Bourne with 3. Christian Ruse will get 2. I'm sorry. Apparently reading this wrong. 7 for Catalano, 6 for Dobbs, 5 for Davies, 4 for Bourne, 3 for Ruse, 2 for Kleinsma, and 1 for Faccianato. Not sure where I messed up the numbers there the first time, but we got it. Also, to remind everybody as well, if you're looking to see who these playoff drivers are, they're indicated with the red banners here above the windshields. As notice, a few of the playoff drivers don't have them, but a majority of them do. So there's your indicator of the playoff drivers to the non-playoff drivers here during the course of the playoffs. Pit road, going to be a busy, busy place. And it looks like everyone's coming down pit road. Doesn't matter if you came to pit lane under those previous 4 cautions. Everyone's coming down to the attention of their crews here in preparation for stage 2. See who wins the battle off of pit road. Ooh, it's close. And it looks like scoring's going to give it to Trey Whitehead. Close between himself and Scott Rankin there. Brock Whitehead comes out 3rd with Dobbs and Matt Davies. Going to be the top 5 here for this restart. And I love the point that you made just prior to that restart about talking about, you know, the testing, the practicing. You're doing it under optimal conditions, because it's interesting that the precursor for iRacing that Sierra and Papyrus had, NASCAR Racing 2003 season, it's the same identical preface, where during practice, during qualifying, you're out there with optimal tire temps. You're out there with optimal track conditions, maybe a little bit more grip in the racetrack as well than what you're actually going to run in race conditions. And so many times at so many racetracks, specifically the 1.5 and 2 mile racetracks, we end up seeing in league races a lot of incidents take place on the restarts with drivers not ready for the cooler tires as they approach a corner, because in their practice sessions they had those tires at the optimal temperature. They had the grip they needed to be able to traverse the corner. They weren't ready for that lack of grip. And so it's interesting that you talk about that, things that I experienced over in the precursor to iRacing on the Air 2003 side, how it still rolls over here into testing and practice for races on the iRacing side.
I think more so than anything else, though, it's the big thing is that you've got to press on, right? So when you do a whole bunch of practice, you're out there on your own. You're out there with the dirty air. You're not out there, with a bent race car. But the big thing is, and you hear the Max Verstappens of the world say they're doing 50 hours worth of practice for the 24 hours of Daytona and things like that. That's what they're putting in, 20 hours of optimal. They're not necessarily putting out 20 hours of practice and feeling exactly what the grip is in the race car. They're just going out and going, I want to do me 30 hours worth of laps. They don't ever have to feel, changeable conditions. They don't have to feel about and think about marbles on the racetrack either. It's a big thing. As the grip changes, the grip goes away. Brock Whitehead just got loose.
Yeah, so did Matt Davies We are stacked up, double wide, 3 wide. Contact there as Dobbs gets into the side of Davies. Whitehead gets loose again. Maybe some contact from Ryan Catalano. Look at Tom Bourne shoot to the bottom on the apron there. 3 wide on the front straightaway. Catalano gets loose. Gonna gather it up here on the apron going into turn 1.
So that would have been the transition back up off the apron. He would have got stuck with 2 wheels either side of that. You got 2 wheels with different bankings, different feel on the racetrack right next to each other. That's what those guys would have been feeling.
Look at this gaggle of cars
And I did
right
do some
here from
calculation
about
for you,
4th
sir.
on back.
Remember we were talking about what tire wears the most? Left rear tire. So that's the tire that's skipping over the surface. That's why it's wearing.
Saw Tom Bourne there. You could see the front end of the car jump as the splitter hits those bumps entering into turn 1. At that point in time, how much in control of the race car are you? Because as that splitter bumps, it's taking the front tires off the track.
I mean, you are in control of the race car because at the end of the day, it is... Hang on, Dobbs is trying to get to my inside at the same time. Trying to do some tire saving.
Just looking back from Brock Whitehead
So,
there.
I mean, you expect it. The big thing is, Seth, is that you race the track and you race the car. You're driving the car to exactly what is out there on the racetrack. You know where those bumps are. That's what practice is for. It's figuring out all those little bits and pieces.
Proverbial slide job there. Matt Davies getting around Brock Whitehead. Whitehead going to try and get him back. Little breathing space back to the 14 of Christian Ruse, who now closes that up on the approach of turn 1. This is around the 7th position. Caution's out. Trouble there in the back. That was Alan Dobbs. 6th caution of the night. 5th caution for cause. As the 7-time winner, you saw there with that rear look from the Brock Whitehead machine, you could see him sliding down through the infield grass.
Something happened over in 1 and 2.
Here's a look at it as they enter into turn 1. Ooh, that back end starting to come around. Oh, and then as soon as he gets down there on the apron, you mentioned about those 2 wheels on the different sets of banking there. The apron to the banking of turn 1 and 2 on the racing surface, straddling that white line. And at that point, it's just a matter of, you know it's going around, just make sure you don't hit anything on that spin.
Yeah, you know what's going around. And the trouble that he'll have for the rest of this stage is he's worn those tires now, so... No choose deal, he's going to be in trouble. Was that a bump? You see that?
Might very well have been. It was interesting. I was going to try and listen in when we were on board with him. Obviously, when you go over a bump, there's really no warning, but what I was specifically trying to listen for, you were talking about the rear tire, specifically the left rear tire that a lot of the pressure is put on. Sometimes you get an indicator that the back end is coming around. You can hear that little bit of a high-pitched squeal as the back end of the car is not settled into the racetrack. I couldn't quite hear that there with the onboard with Alan Dobbs.
And you won't. So what you got to think about with these race cars is we're going through left turns. Just listening, there's a few things that are going on. There might be a server issue related with Peyton Holland at the moment and damage on his race car. He's going to try and bring the car back out. With the left rear tire, the big reason is effectively, you got to remember these race cars, what, 650, 850 horsepower, depending upon which configuration that they're actually in. The car is loaded up on the right-hand side of the car, which means, I don't know if you've ever seen it going into braking zones. Going into braking zones in road course situations, it's the inside tire that locks. And the reason for that is because all the weight transitions over to, you feel in your road car, you're going through a corner, all of a sudden the car leans to the outside. That's where all the weights transition to. So effectively going through left-hand turns, the inside tire, or the inside rear tire is off the ground fractionally. It's not completely in contact with the racetrack. You are in the gas, and the car is still trying to travel at those speeds, and you're trying to put gas back into it. It will slip the rear tire just fractionally. It's not a lot, but if you continue to do it, it becomes like it takes it a good 10, 15 laps for it to get that way, but it does wear that way. It does put heat in the tire. If you keep driving it that hard, then it's going to get that way, and it's going to get worse. So it's just something you've got to be aware of is going to happen as a race car driver, and you've got to drive around it.
Just kind of thinking out loud here, you mentioned about how it takes a little bit of time for you to feel that sensation with the left rear coming off the ground. Does fuel in the tank, with the fuel intake on the left side of the race car, does that kind of put enough weight in there that until you start burning that fuel off around that 10-15 lap window, that kind of takes away that sensation, at least in the early going?
Yeah, it does do a little bit, for sure. Here we go.
Green flag ready to fly once again here. Less than 30 laps away from the conclusion of stage number 2. That'll be at the completion of lap number 80. The Sonic Brigade 1, 2, 3 making their way through turn 1 as now Rankin puts the pressure on Brock Whitehead for the 3rd spot. Point of note, all these multiple cautions we've had every time we've had Brandon Cooper on pit road getting some damage repaired, as looks like our Daytona winner Christopher Reese has gone around on the back straightaway through the infield grass. The new livery on the refab tailor-made Dark Horse Mustang.
A little bit of debate. They're actually, both of those drivers are actually apologizing to each other. It was apparently contact with Pat McQuaid.
Take a look at it here off the exit of turn 2.
You can see he comes down on him a little bit.
And again, though, this is the pitfalls
about
of that straightaway not being a legit straightaway with constantly turning left. It's almost kind of, in a way, not quite to the extreme, but almost similar to the front straightaway of an Atlanta or a Charlotte, where you're constantly turning left there at that point, and you end up running into those little gray areas as different drivers have different approaches to those two little left-hand turns. Same deal here with this big one left-hand turn. At some point, you're going to have two drivers wanting the same piece of real estate.
Yep. So the big issue here is that it's where you put your eyes, and you can just see the 62 machine comes down on him. So it's just where you put your eyes and everything. So it's all about reference points is the big thing.
It's like Chris Roberge is going to be the lucky dog. Someone that unscheduled pit stop in the early stages of this race, lost multiple laps. This caution is going to get him now to 5 laps down. He knows he's got at least one more guaranteed caution up at the conclusion of lap 80, but looking to get himself back on the lead lap before the conclusion of this race and have a shot at some forward progress here. One of our playoff contenders that got in through points. Alan Dobbs came down pit road to repair maybe a little bit of damage there on that race car. Matt Mettler's been on pit road last couple of cautions, and we just documented prior to that caution waiving for the Chris Reese incident on the back straightaway. Brandon Cooper's been on pit road just about every single caution, continuing to get some manual repairs done to that right front. He's going to restart in the 12th position, as he was able to get by a couple of cars on that previous restart. Moved from 16th up to the 12th spot for our preparation to go back green. Remember, Cooper did not get any stage points at the conclusion of stage 1, so looking to make his way up into the top 10, get some stage points here for the second stage of the evening. Lights out in the pace car.
This will be an interesting one because, again, we're good on fuel to the end of the stage here. So the big thing for these guys is that it's now, we're looking at lap 80. and trying to target getting there. So fuel is good to go. We are fueled up at this point in time through to about lap 90, just with all the cautions that we've had. We haven't really burned all that much fuel out of the race cars. Caution back to back to back to back. So it's now about racing hard.
And we've definitely seen that here on these restarts for sure. This one's going to put us 24 laps away from the stage caution. Trey Whitehead chooses the inside line here. Trey's been kind of flip-floppy on which lane he wants for these restarts. Most of the time he's been on the bottom, but occasionally he's chosen the top line.
He's been choosing whatever lane he's got a teammate behind him in. So he's been trying to benefit the team through his lane choice. That lane choice has not been selfish. It's got nothing to do with him. It's about trying to get as many teammates up and around him at the front.
Right now, Whitehead Racing 1, 2, 3 with Trey, Brock, and Noah Jackson. Battle's going to be side by side behind them. That's Tom Bourne up on the top side of Matt Davies. Jackson will swing around Brock Whitehead for second. Slips up a little bit there. Whitehead cannot draw back even. Bourne kind of boxed in as he barely clears across the nose of Matt Davies and now shoots to the inside on Brock Whitehead to move into the podium on third.
He was working to get that way in there too. He was desperately trying to pick them all off and work them against each other. And he is basically trying to race these guys. You got to remember, Tom's up here on his own, and this is 3 guys all working together, which is really, really difficult to deal with because they just support each other in terms of draft lane.
Got CJ Papa back there. You can see the Adrenaline Rush Coffee Dark Horse Mustang currently in the 7th position. Talked about Matt Davies putting together a really good run here tonight. Has been top 10 all evening long. Currently now side by side with Scott Rankin. This is for that 5th position, but Davies has kept himself in the conversation the entire evening. One of those drivers that pointed his way into the postseason as he pushes up the track. Makes a little contact there with CJ Papa. I don't think Papa got the wall, but you saw Christian Roos try and take advantage of that. He tried to squeeze into about maybe 2/3 of a car length between CJ Papa and that outside retaining wall. It didn't work.
So now it's space on this racetrack comes at a premium. I actually think the race of the pace has actually come up quite significantly, so that's difficult to manage. What are you doing with your race tires then? Remember, rear tires of these cars are going away, so you got to manage the rears. Also, we're in that dirty air now, so the fronts are definitely causing us some kind of issue as well. It's not as simple as just put the car in one spot on the racetrack, line it up and go. You got to think about what am I doing with this car and why. If you're just racing because you think that's the best racing line, this is where you find it really difficult to cut your way through the pack.
Heading on board the front end of Christian Roos, looking ahead to CJ Papa, who the last time we came out of turn 2 here went up and brushed that outside wall. Doesn't look like there was any visible damage. Is there a scenario here? I was talking with you about this earlier before we came on the air too. I saw a lot of drivers, they ventured up there to that extreme outside line, kind of larcening it here around Chicagoland, and the back end would come out from underneath a little bit. The right rear quarter panel would brush the outside wall, but it wouldn't really appear to slow down the momentum at all. So are there incidents here at Chicagoland, whether it's brushing the wall up there in the corners or off the corner, where it's not necessarily going to affect the handling of the race car for the remainder of the run?
It does. It definitely does influence the race car. There is affect the handling right now. Probably not. The car's actually not too bad. It's okay, but it does suck away just a little bit of momentum. It's not a lot. It depends on how. But the big problem is sometimes it slows the right hand side of the car. But when you slow the right hand side of the car's going to want to turn right because the left hand side's moving fast on the right. So that's how you get yourself stuck in a barrier. It feels like you get sucked into the barrier. That can happen if you're not careful. So it's also about just making sure that's not going on. If you just touch it with just the very corner of the race car, you're not too bad. You're actually going to be okay.
Tom Bourne trying to make up time here as he's closing in on Trey Whitehead, trying to get up here and battle for this stage victory. Now, Tom's been one of the few drivers that has been consistently going down onto the apron on the front straightaway. it's got to be obviously shaving off some time here on his lap times, helping him close up ground. But how difficult is it to run that low on the front straightaway, get the car back up in preparation for a solid arc into turn 1?
It's one of the things you've got to learn as a driver. You come out here, and it's one of the things that you learn when you're running Chicagoland is what can I do with the race car? And there is momentum to consider. There is runs to consider when you're doing that. But the big thing is do not hang with 2 tires either side. If you're going to cross that apron, do it aggressively. The reason that we do it aggressively is to minimize the amount of slip in the tires and the time that it's doing, basically. So there is a significant distance gain. There's a good 3 lanes down on that apron that you can use. There is a significant distance gain.
At Davies, Christian Ruse tight here. Here comes Alan Dobbs up there, 3 wide off the corner. Contact going to be made between himself and Davies, and Cooper is around the back straightaway. No caution.
Down on the grass, I think he's okay.
It looks like
Noah Jackson
he
just
may
had a
not
slide.
have
Oh,
hit
there it'll
anything.
be.
There's the caution. He did make contact with the back end of the race car there. I thought maybe he got lucky and didn't hit anything, but there is some significant damage on the right rear of his 54. We were going to check in on both him and Alan Dobbs in just a few moments, but obviously bad situation has gone worse here for the 3-time winner. This is the 4th incident, by my recollection, he's been involved in here tonight, and this caution as well is going to make things interesting because we're going to have less than 10 laps to go in a shootout for this stage victory.
Looks like a fairly big one as well. It looks like it's gone in twice as well. Same thing. Just comes off the bottom of the racetrack. He's loose. He gets polished off there, which doesn't help. He's probably going to save that on his own. Oh, that's a big shot of the rear. There will be damage on that car for certain.
And again, very similar to what we saw with his previous incident here off of turn 2 on the back straightaway. We're going to see right here as he throttles up. Right about there. Could that be from grass on the tires as well as he was sliding down through the infield grass on the back straightaway?
Yeah, there would definitely be some junk on the tires. There wouldn't be that much, so it shouldn't have caused that. But remember, he had the same issue the previous time.
Yeah.
When he went around, so that would be throttle sensitive. And the other thing to consider is he's had the loosest race car out of everyone to this point. Look at it, he's already soaring on that wheel very early in that corner, and then it's going, and there was a mini catch in the middle of that as well. So what he's doing with the car is he is driving it very aggressively with his right foot and his hand movements, which is, I mean, you want a loose race car. The aero platform on these cars, though, is very, very different to the older cars, and the reason for that being different is because it's generated by the underbody and whatnot. So when I talked to GT3 car driving, I got the opportunity back in February this year to go and take a whole bunch of photos of race cars. And one of the things I was talking to with a guy by the name of Jada in his Mercedes GT3 was, and this is a guy who's driven V8 supercars in real life as well. He says that the supercars, the car, there's not a lot of downforce and a lot of aero on them. You do drive them off the right rear tire. You drive it with the throttle. But when you get a car that's aero sensitive and it has a lot of strakes and bits and pieces on them, they want to drive in a very straight direction. They don't actually want to yaw all that much. So what happens is once you start to rotate the car, it actually switches off bits and pieces of the downforce. Now these cars, with the way that they drive, they are a little bit more designed about that. They have the fins. They have the shark fins either side to help with that. But once the car starts to yaw, actually some of the grip goes away from the car, which makes it slide even more. So there is little bits and pieces in that. But yeah, it's on the drive. And Brandon Cooper's good enough to have figured all that out. I wonder whether or not he's psychologically thinking he's going to score a bulk load of points today. He put the car right up at the podium, P2 in qualifying, and he's going, I've got to drive the wheels off thing all day long. You do that, the car's going to do exactly what it's doing for him right now. So he's got to figure out and adjust how he's driving for the remainder of this stage, which is 10 laps, and then what he's going to do for that final stage, because this is a long run home. If this keeps happening, he's very lucky to have a race car still underneath him. I will say that.
2 of his 3 victories on the season were at mile-and-a-half racetracks, the legacy version of Atlanta and Charlotte. This mile and a half has not been kind to him as Trey Whitehead, to your point, chooses the top side, got teammates lined up in the outside of the second and third rows with Brock Whitehead and Alan Dobbs. Pulls down across the nose of Tom Bourne. It's going to be 9 laps to go here in the stage.
Everyone's going to be willing to give no room now at the back end of this stage.
Noah Jackson going to drive it in deep. Pushes up about a half groove off the bottom. Saw Tom Bourne loose on the outside of this side-by-side battle for third. Locked up side-by-side for fifth, for seventh, for ninth. Just about every position inside the top 10 with the exception of the race lead is under contest right now. Bourne going to get the wall there off of 2. Jackson had to lift with the 16 in the wall. Look at that. Lost 2 spots as he gets split down the back straightaway. He'll go from 4th now to 6th.
He was trying to do the slide job on Tom and just didn't get clear. And the problem is, as you push up the racetrack, the car gets tighter and tighter and tighter. You gotta abandon the throttle pedal, which means you just lose all the momentum, particularly on the most critical part of the corner to be building and maintaining momentum. You do not want to be sitting in the car at the back end of the corner and then having to go get momentum again. You will lose spots like that. If what happens to him again, he is in trouble. You can have a look at Bourne moving around. Dobbs is going to go with him. These two don't like each other. They do not like each other.
Working together there on the front straightaway, down on the apron. Little bit of draft maybe from both. Oh, Tom, little high there off of 2. Going to get the wall once again. Keeps Dobbs in the rearview mirror, at least for the moment. Didn't lose a whole lot of ground on Brock Whitehead as he's using up every piece of real estate he possibly can. Trying to get up there, get by Brock, get to Trey. Gets his stage victory.
And Dobbs is chasing him down the racetrack as well. So it's not even as simple as, when they come off at turn 4, Alan Dobbs is chasing him all the way. Oh, Dobbs nearly lost the car. He just about lost it. I know you can't see it right now, but he was pointing at the fence. He had millimeters left before he was in that fence. He got loose off it too.
Top 6 have broken away from the rest of the pack. A good battle for 7th going on with CJ Papa and Matt Davies. But we'll keep it up here with about 4 laps to go as a stage victory is on the line. Bourne about a groove lower than Brock Whitehead there through 1 and 2. Got a good run off the corner. Now we'll look to the inside here into 3 and 4.
Great run. Now he's going to do something with it. This is all track position, setting yourself up for the stage end as well. So this is critical. This is critical in a number of
place. Bourne clear. Can he move up? No. Brock Whitehead was able to get back to his right rear quarter panel. For a brief moment there, Tom Bourne was clear, but he didn't take it.
Time's running out. We're going to come back to the strat. There'll be 3 to go on the stage. Still can't clear him, but he's going to cut across the apron. This will be critical. He might cut him off here. No, still can't clear him. They're still neck and neck.
It's the battle for 2nd taking place about a second behind Trey Whitehead, who is loving this side-by-side battling going on. Oh, lost the nose. Tom Bourne loses the nose on the inside of Brock Whitehead. Look at the momentum he loses as here comes Dobbs. Here comes Rankin, Jackson as well. You mentioned you cannot lose momentum at a track like this.
Now Dobbs is going to lose the momentum, but he's got the support of his teammates down the front straight away. So he's got some draft, he's got some help right there.
Sends it in, does Dobbs. Not enough space to be able to pull off a slide job. Oh, and there goes Dobbs through the grass. Still green. We've got a caution coming up here in about a lap and a half. Proverbial white flag out for Trey Whitehead, who picked up a stage victory here at the conclusion of stage 1, looking to sweep the stages here tonight at Chicagoland. came into these playoffs as the number 4 seed, winning his way into the postseason. And these are going to be some valuable stage points, valuable playoff points, should he be able to advance into the next round. He'll cross the stripe, and we'll see the caution momentarily. Trey Whitehead sweeps the stages here in Joliet. It's like Tom Bourne will get 8 points. Noah Jackson going to snipe a point there. Well, no, looks like he's going to cross in 5th place, actually. So he'll net 6 points. Kleinsma with 5. Matt Davies will get 3. Christian Ruse, 2. And Jonathan Cogswell going to get himself a stage point, his first stage point of the evening. Haven't mentioned his name all that much here so far tonight. Pit road, again, going to be a busy place. Let's take a look and see what happened to Alan Dobbs. Also an update on Brandon Cooper. His night is done. I have to wonder, that back-end contact we saw him have with the inside wall, have to wonder if maybe it broke a toe link or something, but it's been a tough night for him. He's called it an evening, as there's a look at the contact off of 2. Dobbs able to save it through the grass there on the back straightaway, but crossed the line in 17th. Does not cash in on stage points here at the conclusion of the second stage of the night.
I will say, Seth, is coming into the playoffs, and I think the intensity's going up significantly. The intensity's going up immeasurably, because everyone is... It's really intense. I will admit that. The margins are so much smaller. So
we bring you back here to pit stops, setting up for the third and final stage. Matt Mettler going to be the first one off of pit road, and it looks like that may have been a 2-tire stop for the 31 car. Big gamble here. Kick off this third and final stage of the night. Mettler, a playoff contender. Interesting gamble here in the early going.
Could be even employed just to lead a lap and get a bonus point for that. That is relevant.
Great point.
You know, he may be going, all right, we're going to go back to saving immediately after this.
Brock Whitehead's team about 0.2 quicker on their pit stop than Trey Whitehead. He wins the battle of the brothers off of pit road. So he'll restart in second. Trey will be third. Tom Bourne, Noah Jackson going to be the top 5. Want to remind everybody, tomorrow
he flipped
night...
the stage.
Who's that?
Matt Mettler flipped the stage. That's why he's up here. He actually pit not all that long ago.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that was a fuel-only pit stop for him.
So not sure exactly how many laps he had, specifically green flag laps on this set of tires, but we'll see how he does here on this restart. Want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be crowning ourselves a champion in the 65th season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. Last Thursday night, Jeremy Jeffries took a big first step, going to victory lane for the second time this season. He'll look to hold off Josh Metallic, Brian Schilling, and Chuck McClure to claim his second championship in the Thursday night series under the RTG banner. Of course, as well, continue to have the tribute to the life and legacy of David Cannon. Be sure to join us tomorrow evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we get ready to crown ourselves a champion in the Talladega Challenge Series. So as they're getting ready to crown a champion, tonight is the start of the road to crown a champion here in the playoffs for the Grind Cup Series, as Stage 3 is green. 91 laps to go here at the Chicagoland Speedway.
The big things. I actually just went ahead and apologize to him. I'll make that apology. Oh, car going around the bottom. Is that Noah Jackson?
That is Noah Jackson.
He saved it.
Big slide, big
I
save,
will go
but
ahead and make an apology.
he was 5th. And now he's all the way back to 17th.
There's a lot in this, Seth, and one of the things that you would know this from racing, no matter what platform, what we rely on as races is consistency. What is consistency, and what am I talking about? It is everything that you work around you to build what your car feels like and looks like in the sim. We have wheels. Every time a driver makes an adjustment to what wheel he's driving on, new pedals, it changes the way his car drives. It changes the way his wheel and everything feels. And I just apologize to Alan and Sim. I said, at the moment, I'm actually tinkering with a lot of what we call FOV settings, or field of view settings. And the reason I'm tinkering with that brand new PC, everything's gone back to a baseline. My wheel and my understanding of my spatial awareness, I'm probably gonna leave like an extra foot because I just cannot pick up at the moment how close I am to somebody else. And unfortunately for Alan, it's compromised him a couple times. But you can just see on board from Trey, you know, how close these cars actually have to run, and that you have to run that close to people, because if you don't, then you're going to make contact, you're going to put people on the fence. And there is, I ran on 3 or 4 different camera settings in a bunch of stuff last night, and I was struggling to read where guys are. I feel a lot more comfortable on the NASCAR, but it is still very, very easy for me to say and sit here and feel. I cannot get as close to cars as I want to get to them because I'm still assessing what does that space look like? When do I make contact? Unfortunately for Alan, I've had every time I've been right on the limits, it's been right next to him. But that's also the way that Alan goes about his racing as well. He pushes those margins to the absolute limit. That's part of the reason why he is as good as he is. And the reason that he can get passes done is because he knows exactly where his race car is. Whereas some of us, you know, aren't quite as good as that. Aren't quite as good at recognizing the margins that you can use. So it is very relevant to him because he is putting everything on the extreme knife's edge. He's leaving very, very little space, and that's what you got to do to be a good race car driver. I will admit, that's how you do that. If you are leaving an inch worth of space, that's more momentum you could have carried through a corner. If you're giving people more space, that is more space you could have, you know, all of a sudden you're beside them for a lap longer. You're using the tires a lap longer. So when you push those margins to the extreme, and unfortunately right now I'm driving a little bit compromised, and that's a race car driver excuse. But at the end of the day, I've had contact, unfortunately, with Alan, I think 3 or 4 times this race, and there's nothing more I can say. I didn't mean to get into the guy, but I missed it by a foot. And what that meant is that Alan spun 3 times, you know?
He's passed a lot of cars here tonight, working his way forward once again. And you mentioned there's a reason why Alan is a 7-time winner on the season, why he's led over 1,000 laps during the course of the regular season, 13 stage wins as well, and why he was able to pull off.
Someone just wrecked up a 2, they're in the grass backstretch.
That's Ryan Catalano. Just saw that in the rearview mirror as we were on board with the 35. No caution, looks like he was able to gather it back up. Another playoff driver, though.
That track temp swung around again.
So 2 playoff drivers have had a moment there out of turn 2. No caution has come out for either one. Noah Jackson and Ryan Catalano. Jackson is slowly working his way back forward. He's into 12th place, getting by the fuel-only pit stop that Matt Mettler had. He's drifted back now outside of the top 10, and Jackson looks ahead at them, stacked up double wide. That's Patrick McQuaid on the bottom, Rylan Faccianato on the top. Jackson thought he might think about going to the apron 3 wide, but instead, just trying to figure out which lane's going to move forward. Who does he work with here in this situation? A Toyota trying to get by a pair of Chevrolet bow ties.
Yeah, it's tricky at the moment, just trying to read the room that you've got as the tires start to wear as well. There was a lot of debate about these tires, you know, wearing quite slowly. Big, fast racetrack. Chicagoland's going to test them in terms of their tire wear. And test them it has.
Seen a number of cautions here tonight. A lot of drivers having issues with those tires, slipping and sliding. The bumps of this racetrack playing havoc with the handling of these race cars. So I almost feel like I'm tempting fate, but well, hold on, I'm going to hold my tongue on that as Faccianato has a moment. And he's going to go around in the infield grass. This may very well be our next caution of the evening. He is down out of harm's way. He'll get the thing refired, continue on. We stay green here, it looks like, but you know, we just kind of almost tempted fate right there. If we get into a green flag run, you talked about being short. If we ran 40 laps under green, about, what'd you say, 37 to 38 laps on a tank of fuel, where does that put us? 2 stops to the finish here when we went back green here at the start of stage 3?
Yeah, it would be 2 stops to the finish because we're just over that 80 mark. So, you know, 40 laps in the stage was doable if you save some fuel and no cautions. But what we're doing here is a 2-stop strategy for sure. There'll be no other way about this one. But it's how much tire have you worn? How have you driven the race car? What's the speed in the thing like?
Well, we saw Rylan Faccianato as he was driving away from the scene of the spin there in the infield grass on the straightaway heading into turn 1. Saw Tom Bourne fly around the outside, putting him a lap down. Driver that did not want to see that was Chris Roberge. Roberge had gotten himself from 8 laps down to now 3 laps down and would have been in line for a free pass should the caution fly at any future point. Now he is out of the free pass position, as Faccianato would be in there as the only car currently -1. I noticed something just there with leader Tom Bourne, and Scott, you touched on this as well, was how deceptive to the eye the jutting out of the safer barrier on the entries of turns 1 and 3 are. I'm not certain, but I think that Tom may have clipped that outside safer barrier jut out just the least little bit.
Well, Tom's actually moving around the racetrack right now. He's actually testing different lines because he's just trying to see, okay, what's quicker? And whilst he's not under threat, and whilst he's on a medium-length run, this is a really, really good opportunity to test the racetrack. Is it better to keep some momentum, move the car a little bit higher? You know, how am I making that speed in the race car? I think Brock Whitehead actually might have just had a little bit of a bobble. Because what will happen is the speed will come and go as the run goes on, and where the speed is and what the race car can actually do at different points of the run. Do you need a little bit of a break to get the car to pitch all the way down the bottom? Do you want to go all the way down the bottom at 1 and 2? And at the moment, the prevailing line is move up the racetrack, but that comes with risks. You run up there against the outside barrier, particularly over here in 3 and 4, there's a few more bumps, and the bumps are more severe in the outside lane. So actually moving up the racetrack does come with risk. The car can jump sideways if you're up against the fence, and the thing is, when you're up against the fence, what's the room left to the fence like? There is none.
Cut you off, CJ Papa, around the front straightaway. Everyone's going to avoid him as that car was sliding up the banking here, just past the Geico restart zone, nosed it into the outside wall. Papa and Davies were battling at the time for the 7th position. Not sure if something went wrong in that battle, but again, we dodge a bullet of a potential massive multi-car wreck as this was up in the latter half of the top 10. Look at it, Papa was on the bottom, gets those left sides down on that white line. You just start to see the unsettling of the rear end of the car, and the overcorrect and noses it into the outside wall. Pretty heavy contact there for his Dark Horse Mustang.
This is interesting on the tires as well, because this is on the fuel run. There's 3 sets of tires left at the end of the race here. 4 tires for most people. Go to the end. Just see the bump. He just hits the bump and the car skips as it hops across the bump.
Again, nice job for everybody avoiding him there. As drivers approaching that incident, probably uncertain of where the 13 was going to be when they entered into the vicinity of the spinning 13. CJ Papa, the only driver involved in that incident here, bringing out the 10th caution of the night, the 8th caution for cause. We ended up starting out these playoffs with 17 contenders. 16 of them took the green flag here tonight, but 2 of them will be going into next week's race at Iowa. looking to gain points back. As it looks like Peyton Holland and Brandon Cooper are going to finish this race behind the wall. Peyton will get credited for 19th. Brandon Cooper will get credited for 20th in tonight's playoff opener. Battle off of pit road. Trey Whitehead got a good launch on exit. Nabs Tom Bourne at the pit lane commitment line.
Bad news. Trey Whitehead, he sped a little. So what you can do is, remember when it's an average pit lane speed. It's not as soon as you're speeding in pit lane, they get you, they ping you, they take a photograph of you, they send you a fine in the mail. None of that. No. It's an average speed down pit lane through all the sectors. So what that means is when you're stopped in your box to when you get rolling again, there's a little bit of leeway. And the reason that there's leeway is because when you get rolling, you're not up to speed quite yet, so you can speed just fractionally. That's one of the little things that you can do to try and grab an advantage on a pit lane. And Trey just said on the radio, yep, I did. I was trying to grab that little bit of advantage and take as much margin as I possibly could. And unfortunately, I took too much, speeding on pit lane to the rear of the field.
Costly mistake. He started this race from the pole. He has not fallen out of the top 5 all night long. And this is going to put him all the way back in 17th position, as we ended up having Rylan Faccianato as the free pass car, now putting us with 17 drivers on the lead lap. So Trey Whitehead, most of this evening, he's had to pass 1 or 2 drivers. Now he's going to have to pass over a dozen drivers to get himself back up into the conversation. And how much of a change is there in strategy from being up at the front of the field to now being mired back in traffic? How much does how you approach this restart, how much you're willing to push the edge on your race car, how much of a swap, how much of a swing is there going to be in the mentality of Trey?
And to go, basically, for him, he definitely has to cut his way through the field, but at the same time, he's got to have tires underneath him to make sure that when he gets back to the front, he can run those guys down. The big thing and the big concern for me has been that pack split between the guys at the front and that next little group of cars. So for him, it's going to be about making sure that he clears those group of guys from the back. And remember, right at the front of this stand, everyone's very, very quick. So up at that early portion of the race, it's very difficult to set up and get the passes done. So for him, he's got to think about, okay, where can I build this run? How can I set the race car to make sure that I am doing everything I need to do? And then the second half of things is, I don't need to burn my car off. He's had a very, very good long run car. For me, I would be patient. I would be saving a little bit more time and just picking guys up, because you've got to be aggressive to do that. He's underneath Jeff Collins, and they might be 3 wide on the bottom, just the way he's driving that car.
They almost were. You had Jonathan Cogswell on the top side of that 3 wide. He got by the both of them, as they might have possibly been banging doors down the back straightaway. Whitehead's going to pick up the spot here. He'll now look to get the spot back from Cogswell, who was able to take advantage of the outside of that 3 wide the last time they traversed here out of turn 2. Ryan Catalano up ahead, maybe brushing the wall. Hubka there, they're going to take him 3 wide, going into 3. You mentioned about that break off there from the front of the pack to the second half of the pack. That's what these drivers back here are racing for. They don't want to be in that second pack that loses the leaders. They're trying to cut their way through traffic as quickly as they can, still stay latched on to the tail end of the lead group.
Yeah, so definitely got to think about cutting your way forwards. But the other thing is, if you burn up all your tires at this end of the run, you'll have nothing to fight with much later on. So you've got to be really careful. If you're fighting back there for position, okay, the biggest thing for me is don't lose that lead group. Would you rather be fighting for 5th spot? Would you rather be, but you're in the height of a hunt, you know, with potentially getting to that lead group, potentially getting a race win if things go wrong, somebody has a moment, you pick up their draft, you go back forwards? Or would you rather be fighting for 5th spot and that's the highest you can finish? So think about that as well. Sometimes the quickest thing you can do is actually to let somebody go, because you jump back in line, you don't lose that much momentum. So think about that in terms of your race plans and preparations, what you're trying to do.
It was interesting, the timing of that yellow around lap 101, 102. if I kind of take that 38 lap run, double it, that's 76 laps since we were across the lap 100 threshold. Safe to say only one more trip to pit road here, kind of split this final run in half should we continue to trend green to the end.
Yeah, it'll be split it down the middle, I think, for a lot of those guys. But what you've also got to think about is we've had cautions at the back end of these runs. So you're taking a lot of risk if you are thinking about pitting early.
True.
We haven't hit a green flag pit stop yet. That says to me that I would not be pitting. I'd be looking to stay out because the car gets loose. And we've seen this a number of times. That when the car gets loose, generally we get those cautions because all of a sudden somebody can't hang on to it.
Just saw our Daytona winner, Chris Reese, on pit road.
Damage on the right front of that car, too.
One of our playoff contenders there. Or actually, correction. He is our Daytona winner, but he is a non-playoff driver here. And he's going to lose a position to Chris Roberge with this lengthy pit stop. Roberge to 2 laps down. That moves him back into the free pass position after Rylan Faccianato got the lucky dog under this most recent caution. Trey Whitehead follow his progress again. He's now to the inside of Christian Ruse. Ooh, close there as he came up off of the apron on the front straightaway. Nearly door-to-door contact with the 14 as he'll move on by and ooh, gets loose as he clears himself up. He's now broken back into the top 10 though, up into 9th, trying to come back from that pit road speeding penalty as he watches the battle up ahead. 7th place, Ryan Catalano, who we saw have that moment off of turn 2, down through the infield grass. It didn't bring out a yellow. He's starting to work his way back forward as he's side by side with Matt Davies.
Oh, race leader's loose as well. Everyone's starting to get loose. We're pushing these tires very, very hard at the moment. This is the highest the race pace has been thus far today. Track temps up to 101, so it's moved around a little bit. There was a point where it was about 107 when it was in full sun. It's cooled off fractionally again. Local time is just before 3 p.m. in the sim at the moment, 10 to 3 p.m. right now in sim. So the sun is starting to come off the racetrack, which means those clouds actually have cleared away. The track's actually gotten fractionally cooler, which means the balance of the race car, more grip in the rear tires, transitions generally to a tighter race car. And more grip generally means the tires wear not as bad.
Catalano and Davies, they continue to battle it out here. Looks like Davies going to open up some distance now. Here comes Christian Ruse. He's going to take advantage of that loss of momentum, move up into 8th. Here's Trey Whitehead now, looking to move another spot up here inside of the top 10. He actually lost 9th place back to Christian Ruse a couple of laps ago. Now he'll pick 9th place up against Ryan Catalano and look to run the 14 car back down. Mentioned about Catalano having his moment off of turn 2. That caution, that previous caution saved him. Did the same for Noah Jackson, who had a moment on that previous restart. He's been able to battle back up now into the 5th position.
The racetrack's starting to become really, really interesting to drive because there's a lot of rubber laid down. But have a look at what Troy is doing to pick these spots off as well. He's moving around the racetrack now, 1 lap high, picks up a whole bunch of momentum, builds the momentum up, enough to go and get the pass done. So go and pick off the guy, he'll move back to the low line. You know, this is what it's about at the back end of these runs. Move around, move bottom, move top. Where is the speed in that racetrack?
And I believe our Daytona winner, Chris Reese, has made his way up here into the broadcast booth. We saw him with that unscheduled pit stop there. Chris, welcome. I mean, what kind of things are you guys... We've been hearing here from Scott's point of view of what you drivers are dealing with, just... How difficult has these conditions been with it seeming to be constantly changing?
Yeah, the track's really, it's moved back and forth. Early on when we first got going, the track really had a tight condition to it. Now it seems like it's almost getting, it's almost freeing up on throttle. When you go to pick the throttle up, especially if you go to pick it up too quickly, the car wants to snap loose on you, and that's actually what happened to me. Is the tail end came around on me, and I overcorrected a little too quick, and it took me out for the remainder of the race.
Back from the race.
Is there anyone from the middle and back of the pack?
Closing.
Is there anyone in the middle of the back of the pack that you're sitting there, Chris, and they're performing above par today? You know, it's tricky because Chicagoland's such a speedway style racetrack that everyone does get packed up. Is there anyone that was reading the speed of the racetrack well and just sort of picking their way through that you had in your eye on?
I'll tell you what, someone who's really been doing a good job, and I don't know if you guys have picked up on him a whole lot, Jonathan Cogswell. If you pay attention, he's really on the longer runs. He's not really been up at the front a lot, but on longer runs, he's really been sneaking his way forward as the run goes on, picking cars off and moving forward.
Very un-Jonathan Cogswell, like we talk about him being one of the better on the short run.
He was actually in the team chat. He was complaining that he just really doesn't like this track, but as the race has gone on and as he's getting longer and longer runs under his belt, he just keeps grabbing more and more cars as runs go on longer and longer, and he keeps complaining that if he could ever get a long run under him where we just he's hoping this thing goes green to the end. He thinks he can get up there in the top 10, top 5 or so cars and compete for a really good finish at the end of this deal.
You know, I have to wonder, you know, both you, Chris, and Scott, former winners this season, unfortunately didn't meet the requirements of the starts to be able to be in the playoffs to run for this championship. But I have to wonder, you know, in terms of a playoff contender, with the tracks we've got here in this first round, Chicagoland tonight, Iowa next week, Bristol to close out this first round, how much pressure do you think playoff contenders put on themselves that tonight was a must-perform racetrack? Maybe not just a must-win, but a must-perform racetrack to have at least a sense of momentum, a bit of a cushion going into some unpredictable tracks like the 2 short tracks coming up.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is this is one of those racetracks where you feel like you're in control of your own destiny. At the short tracks that are coming up, particularly Bristol, you really feel like everything's not in the palm of your hand sometimes. You just, you know, one unlucky caution away, one mistake from a driver ahead of you, you lose 3 spots because you have to check up and the outside lane goes more on by, you know. So Bristol definitely feels that way. So I wouldn't say must perform is probably the way that I would talk about it, but I would certainly say this is an opportunity to set up for the back end of that playoffs.
Yeah, Scott's really kind of hitting the nail on the head there. I'd put it the same way, and this is also kind of a safety net track.
Yeah.
You know, Bristol can kind of jump up and bite you. You know, it can be someone else's mistake that takes you out of the running there. You know, it doesn't even have to be your doing that kills you on that one. You know, it's almost like a super speedway, but smaller.
Gentlemen, we are fast approaching that window that we might see drivers come into pit lane. Now, it was interesting. I mentioned that we went back green with 102 laps remaining. Just doing the calculations here, that there's not much in it in terms of the window. It's a very slim window of anybody that might try to pit early to those that are absolutely going to have to come to pit road. So just looking at lap times and everything here, there is obviously a tremendous amount of fall off. Most drivers up here at the front are running anywhere from 8 to 9 tenths slower, some a full second off from their fastest laps here tonight. With that being such a tiny window between those that could make it the rest of the way and those that absolutely are going to have to come to pit road for fear of running dry on fuel, is there any benefit of doing that short undercut? Maybe seeing if you can take advantage of some fresh tires and cycle up a couple of positions of where you're currently running in the order.
Yeah, there is. The biggest question is you got to get to when the window opens. That's the first number that you're sort of looking at and focusing on. And for me, that number is less than 10 laps away. It's the end of 137. So we are now up and against that. But like you said, there's risk. If you jump them, you're going to be quicker than them. But you've got to maximize. You don't want to burn the tires out when you do jump them. Because if you do burn those tires out, Tom Bourne just got loose off of one.
Yeah, big slide.
Saved it.
That's not going to do those rear tires any
He's been
favor
loose
the
for a
remainder of this
while.
run either.
Add on to what Scott's saying too. If you're going to try and short pit everyone, you've really got to max your in and your out laps as far as getting on and off the pit road. Because if you lose any time there, you're losing time on track that you're trying to gain on everyone when you are undercutting them. That, you know, every second lost there is a second that the guys are catching back up to you that don't run that undercut strategy.
We've seen the bumps
I can say
on the
everybody
racing.
that's pushed this race car is loose. Everyone's loose right now, Seth. This you just seen. I want to say it was Trey Whitehead. It was one of the it would be Brock Whitehead that just got loose off of 2, and that was because he was underneath Tom.
And he popped the outside wall there as well. Did Brock Whitehead. Can't tell if there's any damage on that right front quarter panel, but he definitely did make a little contact with that outside retaining wall coming off the final corner. You know, obviously we talk about the abrasiveness, the bumps of the racing surface. We've also talked about if you straddle that white line here, your left side's on one set of banking, your right side's on the other set of banking. It's going to upset the race car. With all that being said, how difficult is this pit road going to be to get on if we have to make a pit stop under green flag conditions here?
It's tricky. And the other thing is, this is the first time that we've sort of had worn tires to really go out and test those limits. And the other thing is, since we've been out here on the track and running, rubber's been laid down. The speed of the racetrack, the grip of the racetrack has changed. So there's quite a lot in that. It's not just as simple as just get it on the pit lane. Tires are worn, rubber's been moved around. And the big thing about the pit lane entry is that's where all the marbles go. Think about 3 and 4. Marbles go to the bottom of the racetrack because they get cleaned off the racing surface. So that does matter too.
Alan Dobbs working his way by Brock Whitehead for 4th place. You can see the 25 of Rylan Faccianato. He's got some damage from a previous incident. And he's going to go a lap down to the race leaders. That'll leave us with 15 drivers currently on the lead lap, about 10 seconds before leader Scott Rankin would get to the next driver on the tail end of the lead lap, that being Matt Metler. Matt Davies been having some issues here the last 5 laps or so, some connection problems, been flickering in and out as he's back in the 12th position. Hopefully we'll see him get that sorted out here as he's had a solid top 10 run pretty much the entirety of the evening, and closing in. Scott gave us that completion of lap 137 where that window would open. That's about 3 laps away right here. We may end up seeing some drivers make that dive onto pit road as we crest 38 laps to go.
And the thing is, I got about 8 laps of gas. That window is going to be 5 laps wide, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, that's something else you got to think about too that Scott didn't mention earlier is during that window, if you're going to do the short pit and be one of the first cars on, you've really got to hope that these guys that are staying out longer on their old tires and these cars are loose, that none of them make that big mistake and the cars don't get too loose for them and that caution doesn't come out and trap you 1 or more laps down.
This could be, I think this is the most relevant, for me this will be the only green flag pit stop we'll have in this first round of the playoffs. So this is the money stop. If you want to transition out of this first round of the playoffs, you have to get this stop right. 40-second penalty here, your playoffs may be done. There may not be another opportunity to get that back. So that adds some more pressure. I'm seeing smoke just about every single lap as we get up for 1 and 2. So that says somebody's sliding tires. So Roberge or Matt Metler may be in a little bit of trouble.
Well, remember Matt Metler, who's now coming to pit road, he flipped the stage at the beginning of stage 1. So he's a little off sequence with everybody else.
That is the earliest you can get home from, so.
And he's going to go with that strategy here as he brings his Chevrolet down to the attention of his crew. We ended up seeing Trey Whitehead pay the price for it under caution. But one of the big things here at this racetrack, I mean, Chris talked about if you're coming down pit road early, hope and pray a caution doesn't trap you a lap down. You also don't want to make the mistake of speeding on pit road, because that will be super costly, and it's very likely going to take you out of the running for not only the victory, but maybe a decent finish because of the field being as spread out as it is right now.
Yeah, big spread in that field as well. There is somebody slow in 16th spot. I think that might be rejoining after a pit stop. So that actually might be okay.
Yep, that's Matt Mettler rejoining the track
Yeah.
after his trip to pit road. Ryan Catalano is in the 92.
So pit stops are officially starting.
Here comes Patrick McQuaid. McQuaid's sporting a little bit of right front damage. He's been up in the wall a couple of times. Looks like Chris Hupka coming down right behind him. It's like most drivers that are outside of the top 10 going with this early dive onto pit road. Maybe the nothing to lose mentality.
As well. Particularly,
Yeah,
the big thing for those guys is if they can reconnect themselves to a pack, they will speed up. Their run speed comes up massively. Go ahead, Chris.
That's what I was kind of getting ready to get at, is for a lot of these guys further back, if they can get in and get these fresh tires before the leaders do, they can kind of plan on clicking off a second a lap faster than what the leaders are while they're out on the old tires, and that may reconnect them to the leaders once the leaders come in for their stops.
Saw Jonathan Cogswell on pit road in the 27. This is the battle for third place currently, as I believe our pole sitter and sweeper of the stages, Trey Whitehead, is on pit road, coming down for his final pit stop of the evening. Tom Bourne from second brings his Chevrolet down to the attention of his crew.
And remember, he led a big chunk of the first stage, or the first part of that run. So he was punching that hole in the air. But just about everyone else is in.
I believe Alan Dobbs may have had a moment coming to pit road here as he lost some ground. Coming to pit road entry.
It looked like he was a little sideways there right before the commitment cone.
Gathered it up. CJ Papa into the attention of his crew as well. Scott Rankin makes the dive to pit lane with Noah Jackson following him. That'll put Brock Whitehead on the point, at least for the moment. Christian Ruse also on pit lane in the 14. Bunch of drivers here this lap. Jeff Kleinsma is in. Matt Davies is in as well.
Significant numbers as that run went on. Remember how we're talking about loose race car? Well, it transitioned. It's now front right. That is the tire that's dealing the damage. 61% left on the front right. And that was saving some tire as well.
This should complete the cycle of pit stops here as Brock Whitehead makes the dive onto pit lane. And we'll wait to see how this all cycles out as we approach 30 laps to go here tonight in the playoff opener. Rankin makes his way back out onto the racetrack. We're looking for the 16 of Tom Bourne. There he is in the same camera shot, about maybe 5.5 car lengths off the back bumper of the 39. Trey Whitehead's actually going to cycle up into third place. He was able to leapfrog Noah Jackson. And we'll see what Trey has here for these final 30 laps. It's had one of the fastest cars of the night. We mentioned he swept the stages this evening, carrying at least 2 playoff points into the next round, and good recovery here after that speeding penalty back under the last yellow.
Everyone's super spread out right now, Seth. So now it becomes read the race. And for Matt Mettler, he's at risk of going a lap down. He's tried to undercut and jump away from the front of this race. So what do I need to do right now? I've got the fresh air to my nose, and I've got Tom riding with me. How much do I want to try and pull away? Well, the draft is going to keep Tom relevant. What does Trey Whitehead look like? He's had a really, really good run to go from the rear of the field after speeding on pit lane. That was the last caution of the night. Think about that. If we go green to the flag here, think about Trey could have won this race, you know. That is very, very relevant to his playoffs.
Certainly is. He does have some teammates that are closing up here. Brock Whitehead and Noah Jackson. Now, is there any kind of a scenario where straight line speed of 4 cars, granted the second and third car are going to have a lot to deal with in terms of aero tightness as they're running in a draft with the 23, but is there any scenario where they can create enough straight line draft on the front and the back stretch to be able to close up on yourself and Tom?
Yeah, look, if they can get close enough to work together. The problem is keeping the cars consistently together is a big, big issue. That's the problem that we've got to try and solve. However they do that, maybe it's ripping the fence, and then the other cars are down at the bottom, you know, so there's little bits and pieces. So there's a bunch of different ways that you're sort of going to go about it. It's not just as simple as lock in and run, you know, but grouping up and working together, and they're teammates. So they will work together here. That's the one thing you can be certain of.
Trey Whitehead, I think, just had a moment. He just went from 3rd back to 5th. Thought he was going to hook up there with the 71 and the 20, but he has now dropped about 5 seconds behind them. Let's see if we can find out exactly what just happened to him. Might have very nearly been an incident that could have been our most recent caution.
Matt Metler just had a huge moment and saved it. He just about triggered the caution with Matt Metler. So
this was very nearly the caution right here as well. Wow. Let's check in on the Matt Metler incident as well here. This was in the same area, bottom of 3 and 4. You talk about that one specific bump. It looks like both the 23 and now the 31 hit it. Just a couple laps apart.
It was about 3/4 of the way through the corner. So at that point in the corner, you're trying to straighten up and pick your exit off. So it's about the point where you're actually starting to straighten the steering wheel back out. So for those guys, it's just a little bit too much steering wheel still in it at that point in time.
And as that was going on for Matt Metler, you saw both the 16 and the 39 right there in that shot. Tom Bourne has made his way back to the front. You mentioned he comes into this race. He had no playoff points. Got in through the wild card spot, winning the All-Star race back at Charlotte. And looking to capitalize on a good run, a victory here tonight in preparation for those 2 short tracks coming up here. Smoke up ahead, yeah. Moment for him here on the back straightaway.
Looks like he's got some right front damage.
Let's take a look, see what happened to him.
He
Saw
might have
some
got the barrel.
smoke there on the back straightaway. He never comes really back up on the racing surface, but right there, back end gets away from him off the exit of 2. He's going to go for a spin into the infield grass here. That right front damage you alluded to there, Chris, might have been from his earlier incident off of 4 when he nosed it up into the outside wall. A number of drivers have had to deal with damage during the course of this race. And there is the caution. Patrick McQuaid around on the back straightaway, and this changes up everything.
Yeah, that's going to put everyone back together and make this a whole new race.
Do we have a set of tires still left, Scott, and are we coming down to take them?
I think you have to. I got to be honest. I think you have to. And the reason that you have to is because it's 20 laps to the end of the race from here. You're not going to wear tires out enough that another set of tires from here is going to change things. So I definitely feel as if you want to come and grab that last set of tires. Everyone should have 1 set left at most.
Close call there for Ryan Catalano, as the 77 was drifting up, and there was just a little bit enough space there to be able to squeeze between the spinning Patrick McQuaid and the outside wall. Again, we've been relatively lucky here tonight that most of our wrecks have involved 2 or 1 cars. We haven't really seen a massive multi-car wreck, and you watch, I've just jinxed it. We're going to probably have a multi-car wreck on this upcoming restart.
What have you done?
We'll
You hear
call it
this,
the
Chris?
commentators'
This is how all the
curse.
cautions happen every week.
Yep.
So it's tricky because that was a 10-lap run on the tires. We'd already fallen off about 0.6 of a second. But the problem I have is that I think that is the last time that you're going to get a set of tires on that are an offset. Now, if we get 3 or 4 laps caution, tires are going to be crucial right now. The problem is, if we go any further into this race, we've got 10 laps from now, and we've had 2 cautions in that time, there isn't going to be the tire offset to come back down for another set of tires. So anyone who didn't pit there is in that disadvantage of they kind of needed to stay out because it's a tricky situation. Tom, I think, stayed up because he's the race leader. He wants to maintain track position. I don't blame him, but it's, 10 laps on the tires. We did wear off a reasonable amount, so...
Yeah, 5 drivers stayed out here under this 11th caution. Bourne, Ruse, Dobbs, Kleinsma, and Hubka. So that'll be the top 5. Rankin won the battle off pit road. Will restart on the outside of row number 3 with Brock Whitehead, Noah Jackson, Trey Whitehead, and Jonathan Cogswell, the top 10. We've already seen how crazy these restarts are going to be, but for the most part, we haven't really seen any restarts where, to your point, the tires are offset. Now, how difficult is it going to be for yourself and the other drivers on these fresh tires to be, I guess I could say, cautiously aggressive, knowing that you're going to have a lot more grip, a little bit more center of the corner speed than some of these other drivers up ahead of you?
That's the big thing is I'm going to be loose in that first lap because the tires are not up to temperature. So we're doing everything we can out here right now to just put some heat in the tires because it's critical that we do so. Absolutely critical that we do so. Because that first lap, we are vulnerable to not having the temperatures, not having the pressures, which doesn't get the splitter heights right, which means some downforce is switched off from underneath the car. So you've got to be careful for this first lap. But then, Chicago's one of those luck tracks. If the inside lane checks up and I'm in the outside lane, sweet, cool bananas. We rip around the fence, we go and pick up a whole bunch of spots. If you're down low, and you're in that checkup lane, well, forget it. You're going to go backwards. But you've got to read the guys in and around you as well. This is really, really tricky, these offset starts like this.
Green flag in the air. Good launch for Tom Bourne. Little spinning of the tires there. Looked like for Jeffrey Kleinsma, and Christian Ruse was caught a little flat-footed as they stack up there from about 5th position on back. Here come the fresh tires trying to cut their way through the field. Rankin into the wall. Looked like we might have had one nearly around. Rankin off the nose of Brock Whitehead. And we're going to have a massive pile up here on the back straightaway. Looks like the 7-1 actually did get it righted. Rankin, though, not so lucky. Chris Hubka was also quite a ways back there. Not sure if he got a piece. Caution out for the 12th time tonight.
What were we saying about a multi-car wreck earlier?
Yeah, the cautions breeding cautions now. Here's a look off the corner. Kleinsma up the track. 39, no room. 71 into the left recorder panel.
That's dumb driving. That's dumb driving on my behalf. I just had a block on the late. I saw the run coming, and I'm like, I've got to try and check him. I've got to try and do anything, but I threw it too late. I gave Brock no room to react. He turned me because I threw it real late. And the critical thing is, have a look at Kleinsma as he comes through the corner. So Jeff's on old tires, and his right front's starting to go away. So he's not got enough grip. Have a look at where the cars are up ahead of him. So he can't get the downforce. He's trying to keep that car down. You can just see the car just shoots up. Me and the fence, we both check up as a result of that. And then there goes the checking up in the background. And it was all because Whitehead actually got a huge run off the corner. He got shot out of there like a cannon. And if I block him early, he keeps cutting down. He tries to go underneath me. I blocked him super late. That's not on him at all.
See right there, Noah Jackson right on the back bumper of Chris Hubka gets him loose as well coming off at turn 2. That's going to bring out the 12th caution of the night. We're going to get a restart somewhere south of 15 laps to go. Didn't mention under that last yellow flag, Matt Mettler brought his Chevrolet behind the wall, so that leaves us with 16 drivers still running. Chris Roberge continues to get these free passes. I believe he's now at 1 lap down. CJ Papa, currently 3 laps down after a bit of an extensive stay on pit road, repairing the damage on his Dark Horse Mustang. And again, a reminder to everybody, this is just the opener to the playoffs. We continue on the postseason for the 2025 Grind Cup Series next week, as we will be at the Iowa Speedway. Short track racing for the second race of the playoffs next Wednesday night. Green flag flies at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to join us for that one. As a matter of fact, Iowa and Bristol, short tracks that we're going to be running under the lights. They say the nighttime is the right time. We'll have to see if that's the case here for these playoff contenders. Some of them going to be leaving Chicagoland here tonight with some pretty hefty points towards the postseason in their pockets. Other ones going to be looking to gain those points back at some very difficult, technical, and up each other's gearboxes, door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel racetracks in these final 2 races of this first round.
Yeah, tricky. I think it's the right thing to go under the lights because effectively, Seth, you can say we set the sunset on the main part of the season and we're in the playoffs under lights. I like that.
I like it.
We need to bring back more gap whack. Talk about gap whack more often. We haven't talked about gap whack in a good while.
You know, I know the worst part? We've now associated that word over into the NR 2003 broadcasts. They don't yell at us for saying the other word over there, but we use gap whack anyway.
It's a better term. It's a fun term.
It is.
To say.
It's a great term.
Happy gap whack Wednesday to you, sir.
Same to you.
You've doomed me. You've doomed me, good sir.
Here we go, green flag back in the air, 15 laps to go here at Chicagoland. Another great launch for Tom Bourne. Christian Ruse kind of blockading up that inside line as Alan Dobbs going to get into the back of Christian Ruse. Kleinsman's going to go around, and this is going to blockade the whole back straightaway. Matt Davies gets a piece. Can't make out who that car is. It might be Cogswell just behind the 14 here on the back straightaway. Caution waves once again. At least 3 to 4 cars involved, and that 27 looks a little worse for wear. That almost looks like he's not able to even steer the race car. That could be a lot of suspension damage for Cogswell.
Frustrating. That is so frustrating because Reese, you said how strong he felt. Well, he said that he wasn't doing all that great. He was having a great night. What were we talking about? Tire offset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he liked his car on the long runs. He just wasn't fond of it on a short run, and he's slowly working his way forward and just got caught up in it. It happens that way sometimes.
Saw the 14 get loose, and as he was trying to gather it up, he's out of the throttle. Alan Dobbs is already on his back bumper. No time to react. Spins the 14 around. I believe Noah Jackson got a piece of that, as did Cogswell, Matt Davies. Here's another look at it here. Jeffrey Kleinsma, I think, also might have gotten involved in this incident. Yep, he gets clipped. Trey Whitehead, I think, actually was involved with both the front and the right side of his machine.
Yeah, and Cogswell's unfortunate. That's his night done.
A number of drivers involved in that wreck that, you know, as we've alluded to, they've had solid runs this evening inside of the top 5, top 10. Now all of a sudden, these late race incidents and no faster pair to be able to utilize here in tonight's playoff opener, either having to deal with damage the remainder of the race, or several drivers now having to take their cars back behind the wall. Cogswell, the latest of those drivers, was in line for potentially a top 10 run this evening, Some pretty decent points going into Iowa next week. Now with the DNF, going to be scrapping and clawing to get back up there above the cut line to advance into the next round. As we have yet to get the 1 to green signal here, so we'll be going back green somewhere around 10 laps to go. Looks like Chris Roberge, yes indeed, he got the lucky dog under this caution. Took him 164 laps, but after being 8 laps down, he is back on the lead lap, and he's got a shot of finishing this race inside of the top 10. So talk about sticking it out. Chris Roberge may end up making a net gain here this evening, but it took a long time to get to that point.
It did. He gets to go back points racing yet again. Now we'll start picking off spots instead of waiting for him to wreck out. But that changes the way he goes racing. Up until this point of the night, yeah, he's been on the back foot. Yeah, he's been repairing that race car. But when you're a lap down like that, you are driving the race car a lot less aggressively. Unless you're mad. Unless you're steaming mad. In which case you are driving the race car aggressively. There's nothing nobody can do about that. You will be mad. You will be driving the wheels off the thing. But now he's going to get aggressive. The big thing is when you get back to the lead lap, generally as a lucky dog, go get some fresh tires. Great opportunity. Can he make some moves from the rear?
We talked about the history between Bourne and Dobbs, as the green flag's already come out for some reason, but we'll ignore that here. They are the only 2 drivers right now on the offset tires. Everybody else behind him, or behind them.
You might be on a replay.
Oh, am I? I am. You are correct. Bourne and Dobbs have been able to get away here.
Right.
They are on 12-lap older tires, so the drivers behind them. Trey Whitehead elected to stay out. He did have contact, little contact with the front end, little contact with the right side in that last incident. Currently the highest driver on the fresher tires.
Absolutely.
Oh!
He has absolutely got front end push. He is missing some downforce off the front end of that race car, for sure.
Noah Jackson now crosses him over, looking for that 4th position. And you can just see that center corner speed is gone for the 23. Visible damage on that right front. And that's obviously affecting his race car for the remainder of this run. Catalano goes by him, moving into 5th. Trey Whitehead drops out of the top 5. Dobbs drawing up a bead here on Tom Bourne. There are 12 laps difference of the top 2 to the drivers behind them. Also keep an eye on Jeffrey Kleinsma. Kleinsma came to pit road under this last yellow. He's been able to work his way up to 7th place. What kind of an advantage does he have on the rest of the drivers in front of him as Dobbs runs it low here through 1 and 2, trying to close up on the back bumper of Tom Bourne down the back straight.
Be 7 to go when we get back to the stripe. So again, patience, patience, patience all night long. That's now gone, as everyone is trying to put their best foot forwards. You can't have time. There is no time to cut anybody a break anymore. It's about go time.
And all night long on these long green flag runs as well. Probably running a little bit conservative, trying to save those tires. I don't think we're saving anymore. We're right on the edge, maybe overstepping the edge and asking the car to do maybe a little bit more, whether you're defending or trying to close in on offense.
Dirty air is now a big problem at the front end of things as well. Tires have come back up to temperature. Now the wear starts to kick in. Where are you going to block? Where are you going to cover? You're definitely going to throw a block at this point in the race. You are not going to cover it.
So Alan Dobbs
because there will be
left
5 laps to go when we get back to the stripe. He did. The car just shut off. He got in Bourne's dirty air. The car just switched off. Again, where does he block?
He'll go straddle about the middle. You see those distinctive grooves here in the racetrack. He kind of went between the 2nd and 3rd groove, trying to hold off the fresh tires of Scott Rankin. Noah Jackson not that far behind as well.
We got the wall! He got the wall!
See that loss of momentum down the back straightaway. Rankin will show the nose into 3. Tries to hook the bottom. Whoa! Tom Bourne, big moment right in front of that battle for second. He'll lose the race lead, drop back to fourth, maybe back to fifth as Catalano goes to the inside. Big save for Tom Bourne, but may have just given this race victory away.
With 3 more laps to go, it's now about where do you choose to run. Dirty air versus clean air, very, very important. Can it cover off the dirty tires? How much scrubbing are you doing through the corners?
Bourne trying to battle back to the top side of Ryan Catalano, but it may be too little too late. Noah Jackson's got the best seat in the house watching this battle for the race lead as he sits about 0.7 of a second behind in third place. Dobbs looking for his 8th win on the season as a playoff contender, trying to deny Scott Rankin his 3rd win on the season as a non-playoff driver. Rankin looking for his first Speedway victory of the season as he's got 2 victories at the road course configuration. 2 laps to go. 3 miles remain in the playoff opener at Chicagoland.
I gotta be honest, Seth, I just got the wall. So now did I do any damage to the right front corner of the car? But there is. You're driving the wheels off it. Yeah, it's got no right front left on it now. So I think this will be down to Alan. He's got to make a mistake. And he's one of those drivers as well. He doesn't make mistakes. That's his style. There'll be no overtime this week.
No,
this is going to be a first checker in the playoffs.
White flag in the air, 1 lap to go here in the first race of the playoffs, about 2.5 car lengths. Back to Scott Rankin. Ooh, may have brushed the wall a little bit there off of turn 2. Didn't appear to lose enough momentum for Rankin to generate a run through 3 and 4. Puts those left sides right down on the first seam. And off of turn 4, Alan Dobbs back to victory lane. He'll start the playoffs with an 8th victory on the season. Seven wins during the course of the regular season. Came into this race with the most playoff points. 13 stage victories helped him in that regard as well. And Alan Dobbs on an alternate strategy with 12 lap older tires, able to hold off the fresher rubber behind, had that clean air advantage. And he will kick off the playoffs with yet another checkered flag as he'll get ready to celebrate here on the front straightaway in front of the fans here in Joliet, Illinois.
That was a tough race. That was a very, very tough race. I mean, you see it from the amount of cars that didn't make the end. Car was loose. But the fact that a leading car gets loose with a couple laps left to go, that tells you how difficult that one was. You had to drive it off the right rear and drive it hard off the right rear, and you miss it by a fraction, and there it goes.
Bourne was able to hang on for 4th position. Lost the lead after a moment off of turn 4, and the old adage that we talk about with the next-gen car and these 1.5 mile racetracks, track position over tires. A lot of times it's that clean air to the nose that can hold that fresh rubber at bay, and Dobbs was able to do that here tonight as he'll park it right on the start-finish line and begin the celebration here, kicking off the playoffs with a checkered flag, and I think he just killed the engine as a matter of fact as well, so may need a push to victory lane. As let's take a look at the full finisher results from this one here tonight. Rankin going to bring it home in 2nd. Noah Jackson is going to finish in 3rd. Tom Bourne in 4th and Ryan Catalano in 5th. So your top 5 comprised of 4 playoff contenders. Some more playoff drivers in Jeff Kleinsma 6th, Trey Whitehead in 7th. How about the comeback run for Chris Roberge? 8 laps down outside the top 15 for most of this race. Got back on the lead lap with the right number of cautions and finishes 8th place tonight. Patrick McQuaid will bring it home in 9th and Chris Hubka in 10th. So 9 of our top 10 all playoff drivers. Matt Davies going to finish in 11th. Christian Ruse 12th. Riley Faccianato was the last driver to finish on the lead lap. CJ Papa was the last driver to finish under power in 14th, and the rest of these drivers finished behind the wall. Jonathan Cogswell, Brock Whitehead, Matt Mettler, Chris Reese, Peyton Holland, and Brandon Cooper. That's going to take us into our FRN post-race wind-down as the first race of the postseason here in the playoffs comes to a close. Let's see if we can dial up the driver that brought it home in the third position. Let's get a hold of Noah Jackson. Hey Noah, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got a copy?
What's up?
Great run for you here tonight to kick this playoffs off with, but seemed like just about every driver, playoff or non-playoff driver, seemed to have some issues they had to deal with here tonight. More specifically, I guess, with the conditions of the racetrack. We even saw you have a moment there off of turn 2 that didn't bring out a yellow. You had to kind of come back from that. Talk about the endurance that you had to have in a type of race like this to be able to come back, put it on the podium.
Yeah, tonight was really tricky. Like, heck, whenever we was all running single file, if you entered right behind somebody, you was plowing tight as soon as you tried to get on throttle. But it was a tire game and a clean air race tonight, that's for sure.
I think it's one of those tricky ones as well with manipulating the air around the racetrack and how you set the car. The bumps through the turns were ridiculously difficult because one lap it'd be fine, the next lap it wasn't, and the next lap after that was back to fine again. I mean, managing that race I think was a bigger issue.
Yeah, them bumps was really tricky, especially the ones in 3 and 4. If you hit them just right like I did in practice, and it just sent the car straight to the wall, like there was no saving it if you hit it a certain way. But other than that, heck, I think it was a good race.
Really tough racetrack, but when you kind of consider this entire first round, lot of tough racetracks that you're having to deal with. After this week, we go to Iowa, short track race under the lights, and then we go to the concrete-based half-mile racetrack in Bristol, Tennessee. You know, we were kind of debating about a number of drivers maybe looking at this race specifically as a racetrack to set a good tempo, be able to garner a lot of points, not knowing what lies ahead at the unpredictable short tracks that we've got here in this round. Were you in that mindset here tonight where at least come away with a decent run, if not a victory, not knowing what lies ahead for the remainder of this first round of the playoffs?
Yeah, I was definitely trying to get as many stage points as I could and get a good finish, because it was like you just said, with these short tracks coming up, there's no telling what could happen in these 2 races. So we just got to keep on getting points and staying consistent and get us to the next round.
Well, a great run for you here tonight. A bit of a comeback run there for you after you had a couple of moments here this evening. You bring it home solidly on the podium to kick the playoffs off here tonight at Chicagoland. Noah, before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
First off, I'd like to thank Whitehead Racing, Sonic, everybody on this Toyota Camry. You guys up here in the booth, y'all do a great job every week, and we really appreciate y'all. And just thanks for everybody watching.
Noah Jackson, podium finish, 3rd place to kick off the postseason. He'll look to keep this momentum going as we'll be under the lights at Iowa in the Midwest next week. Best of luck there. Congrats on the great run here tonight.
Thanks, bud. Good race, Scott.
Thanks, brother.
Let's see if we can go down to victory lane, dial up tonight's race winner, Alan Dobbs. Alan, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Great run for you here tonight. Had to work your way through the field a couple of times, and we were kind of wondering there. We saw you, the 16. You went with the alternative strategy. I think a few other drivers stayed out with you as well, as most of the field came down pit road to take on that final set of tires. It's always the gamble at these type of racetracks, track position over tires, but you were able to have that clean air to the nose. Was that the difference maker here tonight?
More than likely. I mean, they didn't have that much better tires. They were definitely faster, but the air is such a huge difference maker that if it wasn't for the air, I know for a fact I'd have been passed there by Scott, because I mean he ran up on me really quick, but then couldn't really get past 2/10. So, yeah, I'll attribute it to the air, and it was definitely one hell of a day.
we were just talking moments ago with your teammate Noah Jackson about, this being a challenging racetrack, but Scott kind of talked about this being a driver's racetrack where you can kind of control your own destiny. We've got Iowa and Bristol coming up here for the remainder of this round. Some unknowns when it comes to short track racing. Whether the day is going to go your way, or if it doesn't, does it happen near the end of the race when there's nothing to be able to do about it? So how much emphasis did you put specifically on this race in this round to kind of set a good tone, not knowing what lies ahead in these next two races of this round specifically?
To be honest, I wasn't super concerned about it because, I have a good standing for the first round. Mostly, I just wanted to have a good run, just get a decent finish. I wasn't really out here trying to win. I spent a lot of time just kind of riding behind people, saving my stuff, because a fourth or a fifth place finish would have been more than enough for my satisfaction tonight. But we'll definitely take the win. Always excited to get a win. Certainly didn't see it coming. But
well, 8th victory on the season. You get the playoffs started out on a high note here with two interesting tracks coming up, starting next week at Iowa. Congratulations on the great run here tonight. We'll let you get back to your celebration here. Before we do, we'll give you the opportunity for some Victory Lane thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Just shout out to my beautiful wife, as always, all the guys over at Whitehead Racing, you guys for the broadcast, and everybody watching. Appreciate it.
Alan Dobbs picks up the victory in the first playoff race of the season. 8th victory overall here in 2025. Best of luck next week going forward here in the remainder of this first round.
All right. Have a good one, y'all.
So with Chicagoland in the books, the unknown kind of lies on the horizon here, Scott, because, we've seen here during the course of the season, we could go back to some of the other short tracks or tracks that race like a short track. Dover, we were at Iowa earlier on this season. A lot of people can consider Darlington with its style of racing very similar to a short track. Bristol, we've been there before this season. We've seen where drivers, and kind of almost similar tonight, where drivers that for the first two stages, they're running up there inside the top 5, inside of the top 10. They're looking like they're in really good shape to garner some good points. And then we get to around 40, 30, 20 laps to go. Something happens. They get caught up in an incident, and they're not able to come back from that hard luck. With that unpredictability coming up, how excited, nervous, what are we looking at here as far as the mentality of these playoff drivers, specifically those that didn't exactly get the finishes they were looking for here this evening at Chicagoland?
This was a tough one. We say, this is a wide speedway, but at the end of the day, it is a wide speedway. But have a look at how packed up the cars were. That takes decision making. That puts a lot of emphasis on. And we talked, a little adjustment for me in my sim between this week and last week, and all of a sudden it makes it really, really difficult for me to read the lane. To read how close the driver is, to read where the other car is. So there's a lot of little bits and pieces of that. That gets accentuated next week when we start to hit the shorter tracks. Iowa's really difficult at the moment. New surface at Iowa as well, which means we got all the patches that are there on the racetrack in real life. And it's been so good to see the Cup Series back there. But it means the car bounces around a lot more. There's a change in grip. Next week is a driver's track. Next week is about not only being able to survive, but to hang on and be able to drive the car at speed over a long period of time. Next week, I think, is more challenging than Bristol. Bristol, there's going to be a ton of guys that get to Bristol and they're just in survival mode because provided they score a top 15 in points, they're locked in. So that will be their goal when they get to Bristol. But next week, I think next week is we're going to see a lot of aggression. And for a lot of guys, like have a look at CJ Papa out, Jonathan Cogswell out, Brock Whitehead had a brilliant car all night long, Matt Metler off cycle on strategy, Chris Reese, Peyton Holland, all of these guys, brilliant drivers. Brandon Cooper was the first driver to retire tonight after many, many crashes, unfortunately, to him and damage. So, hey, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult to pick up where the car is out there and go racing. And it's a tough one. So I think this is going to be a really interesting end of the playoffs.
The last time we were at Iowa was back at the early portion of April 2nd to be exact. That was a daytime race. Now we're going to be in nighttime conditions, maybe a little bit more grip in the racetrack with the track being a little bit cooler. since we've been to Iowa before, but since there's going to be different track conditions, can we kind of look back at the previous Iowa race, look at the drivers that had success there as the favorites going into this one, or does the difference in track conditions from day to night transition, does that open up the field to some other names that we maybe didn't see do all that well the first time we were here, now finding success in a week's time?
There was cars there. Remember, we had cars spinning late on in the piece as well as the rear end started to get away from you. It was a different set in the track. This one is about mistake management more so with the new Iowa compared to the old one. The old one you could run it reasonably hard and it was actually okay, but you were still managing the rear end of the race car and you could find yourself firing off down into the infield. So it's a little bit of calm, it's a little bit of go. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that goes on in it. But next week will be a wild ride. I have a feeling.
Absolutely, and we hope everybody will join us for that one next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back here for the continuation of the playoffs for the 2025 season for the ESports Oval League's Grind Cup Series. First race in the books here of a difficult first round of the playoffs. Alan Dobbs takes the checkered flag here at Chicagoland. Iowa and Bristol wait in the wings. Bristol, the last of our Dash for Cash races as well. So a lot on the line here in this first round of the playoffs. We thank you all for joining us for our coverage here tonight from Chicagoland. For Scott Rankin, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next Wednesday night at Iowa Speedway as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.